What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 2TGO26 distribute the boarding ceremony, and the Sword of Vowed Victory comes out. Sikong Ye didn't think there was anything wrong with what he did. What are murlocs? What is a titan? There are some people who only need a meal to recover from their injuries and strength. There are some people who will always get blood locks when they are about to die, no matter what, immune to death. Some people's kendo talent is full from birth, and a year of study is comparable to decades of hard work for mediocre people. Some people are born with a golden key in their mouth to enjoy the glory and wealth, and they don't feel sorry for feeding slaves with a lot of devil fruit. Absolute fairness does not exist, becoming stronger is the only truth. Seeing that Zoro was still a little upset, in order to prevent the two from abandoning the development of devil fruit, Sikong Ye continued to enlighten the two. Devil fruit has become a part of your body. If you stick to the way of the sword, then use the power of devil fruit on the way of the sword. It's just like you use your own strength, agility and reflexes in the way of swordsmanship. In Sikong Ye's view, Kuina's and Zoro's ideas are too biased. Why can hockey be integrated into kendo, but not devil fruit? This is a double standard and must be cured. In the end, the two put off their attack on the captain under Sikong Ye's flickering and comfort, and Sikong Ye sat back on the sofa again. Don't put on a sour face. As compensation, I can give you a set of famous knives. Sikong Ye decided to give away the boarding gift bag that had been hidden for a long time. After getting the famous knife, presumably Kuina and Zoro's unhappiness about eating devil fruit will completely dissipate and feel grateful. Do you have a famous sword? Kuina squinted at Sikong Ye, disbelief written all over his face. Even if there is, it is estimated that it is the level of a quick knife. Kuina didn't like it at all. After all, her family has the words of Hidao Ye, who has 21 skills. According to the order of boarding, Kuina should come first. Sikong Ye didn't argue, but directly took out the Night King three-piece suit from the system space. It is said to be a three-piece set, but in fact Sikong Ye only took out a sword with a sheath. The Sword of Vowed Victory is inserted in the distant utopia. This is the choice made after Sikong Ye sidestepped Kuina during the chat. Kuina is a single sword style, and the infinite sword system is naturally ruled out. As for choosing the three-piece suit of the King of Knights, the main reason is that the Sword of the Vowed Victory is almost comparable to the Sword of Deviation, but the Sword of the Vowed Victory is also matched with the distant utopia and the enchantment of the Wind King. Although the Deviation sword is powerful, it is still not as fragrant as the three-piece set. Kuina took the King of Knights three-piece suit and commented in a dignified manner, "The scabbard is exquisitely crafted, but I don't know how the sword itself is." As he said that, Kuina couldn't wait to draw out the Sword of Vowed Victory. With the appearance of the Sword of Vowed Victory, a dazzling golden light filled the entire cabin. Immediately afterwards, the light spread to the outside of the cabin, broke through the clouds at a height of thousands of miles, and shot straight into the sky, illuminating the entire east blue. One heart gem. Koshiro and Drago, who were talking, suddenly noticed a dazzling light not far away, and their eyes were fixed immediately. No, that direction is Sikong Ye's pirate ship. Fearing for his daughter's safety, Koshiro rushed towards the light source. Drago was also very worried about Luffy, and rushed over with his men. Golden flash. Could it be that guy Paluzolino? In Drago's impression, the only one who can cast such a large-scale flash is Kizaru. Rog Town Harbor. Little ones, make up the supplies. Our next goal is to reverse the mountain. Ooh, let's go. Just as everyone in the Red Hair Pirates was about to set sail, a golden light piercing the sky was reflected on everyone's faces. What is this? Could it be the treasure of the One Piece? Lucky Roo, are you kidding me? One Piece's treasure is in Raftel? But I think the treasure of One Piece may not be as shining as the treasure in front of me. The eyes of the red-haired Shanks were full of shock and curiosity. I can feel a powerful sword intent. Little ones, why don't we go to Reversing Mountain later? Let's go over there and have a look first. At this moment, Shanks was dancing with excitement like a child. There is no airs of the captain at all. Seeing this, Beckman shook his head and laughed, and then arranged for everyone to change course. Now that the captain has spoken, he will naturally make arrangements. Of course, he himself was also very interested in that golden light. Ooh, treasure hunt. Have a party, have a party. Just as the Red Hair Pirates were cheering, a distraught voice came from not far away. Red-haired brat, you dare to spoil my lovely grandson, take your life. Shanks trembled when he heard the voice, and almost abandoned the boat and ran away. No, it's that old guy Garp, little ones, the wind is blowing. Seeing this, the younger brothers didn't dare to delay, and drove towards the golden light at full speed. East blue 10,000-meter-high suspended island group. Golden Lion stood on the edge of the island, staring at the golden light filling the entire field of vision, laughing wildly. Jihaha. Such a strong sword intent, such a domineering aura, this newly born famous sword, I, the Golden Lion, will order. Chapter 027 I do not agree to this marriage, leave Shimotsuki village. Kuina was stunned for a moment before realizing it, and hastily retracted the sword of vowed victory into its scabbard. The golden light also dissipated. Captain, this knife. Kuina was momentarily at a loss for words. She had never seen such a powerful famous sword, just pulling out the scabbard had shocking power. What is certain is that Hidayu's characters are completely incomparable with this knife. Even the supreme fast knife is not half as good as this knife. This is the sword of the Oath of Victory, a magical weapon forged from the stars, far surpassing the supreme sword, and it is the sword of the ancient Night King Artoria. Sikong Ye smiled slightly. He saw the longing for the sword of sworn victory in Kuina's eyes. In addition to the sword of the vowed victory, this scabbard is called the Distant Utopia, which can heal the holder's injuries and stop aging. Unfolding the scabbard, you can place yourself in the Utopia, shielding all physical element attacks. After listening to Sikong Ye's introduction to the Distant Utopia, not only Kuina, but even Zoro were shocked. Self-healing, not aging, ignoring attacks. This scabbard is even more heaven-defying and terrifying than the sword itself. After hearing the news, Koshiro, Dorag and others happened to hear Sikong Ye's description of the Distant Utopia. All were shocked. Sikong Ye ignored these people, and continued to introduce the last piece of the Night King's three-piece suit. There is also a Wind King enchantment around the sword of the vowed victory. After activation, it can cover the sword with a layer of whirlwind, changing the refraction of light and making the sword invisible. What? Kuina was completely stunned by the surprise. She is not related to Sikong Ye. Why did Sikong Ye give her a peerless weapon? This question also lingers in Koshiro's mind. Is it possible that Sikong Ye wants to piss off my little cabbage? Koshiro instantly made up a lot of inappropriate scenes. No, I do not agree to this marriage. When everyone was silent, Koshiro suddenly roared. But as soon as I yelled, I regret it. When Kuina heard this, her face flushed, and she ran out of the cabin holding the sword of the victory oath with her head down. Drago glanced at Koshiro, the corners of his mouth raised slightly. He left without saying the last word. Ivankov and Haku the Murloc followed. Sikong Ye was stunned. Did we talk about our engagement just now? Ahem. I want to ask where you got that sword from. Koshiro was extremely embarrassed at this moment, and quickly changed the subject. Oh, I found it in an ancient sword mound, and then strengthened it a little bit. Sikong Ye is not humble at all, and takes all the credit for himself. See, I found the sword and strengthened it. Why don't you hurry up and let your daughter and lover join my Ziwei pirates? Then Sikong Ye took out 3 knives from the system space and handed them to Zoro. Here, this is for you. Zoro was quite moved when he took the 3000 Worlds 3-piece set. It turned out that one of the knives was covered with cracks, as if it would break if touched. The other knife is spliced together with silk threads, and its shape is very strange. This is too perfunctory. Compared with Kuina's sworn victory sword, Zoro suddenly felt that the sword in his hand was not fragrant. Sikong Ye didn't bother to explain, let Zoro figure it out by himself. Koshiro chatted awkwardly with Sikong Ye, and then left the Emperor Star with Zoro. On the entire Emperor Star, there are only 2 people left, Sikong Ye and Luffy. The 2 washed up and planned to rest on the boat tonight. Lying on the bed, Sikong Ye tossed and turned sleeplessly. He didn't expect that the sword of vowed victory would burst into such a strong light when it was unsheathed. And what kind of people this ray of light will attract, Sikong Ye has no idea. It's really troublesome. I wanted to keep a low profile for a while longer. Sikong Ye felt helpless. No, I have to leave Shimotsuki village tomorrow. Even if it is a robbery, I will grab Kuina and Zoro. With complicated emotions, Sikong Ye gradually fell into a deep sleep. The next day, Sikong Ye woke up early in the morning, woke up Luffy, and had a few rounds of Saitama set meals first, and the 2 didn't go to Yixin Gymnasium until it was almost dinner time. In the dining room, Koshiro and the 2 Lil Ones, as well as Dorag, Ivankov and Haku the Murloc from the Revolutionary Army were all seated. Sikong Ye found an empty seat and sat down, glanced at Kuina who was blushing, smiled lightly, but didn't say anything. Luffy sat carelessly next to Sikong Ye. The food was served plate by plate, and no one except Luffy moved their chopsticks. The main reason is that Luffy's eating is too indecent. Just copy the plate and gobble it up, and other people have no chance even if they want to pick up food. Of course, Sikong Ye wouldn't let Luffy do that on the Emperor Star. The reason why there is no restriction on Luffy's eating appearance in Yixin Gymnasium is naturally to disgust Koshiro, who let this guy get in the way before. He, Sikong Ye, is very vengeful. It was also the first time for Drago to see his son being so edible. Considering that Luffy has been in Koshiro's gym for nearly a week, he can't help but look at Koshiro apologetically. Chapter 028. At the moment of decision, Dubu Chu defeated the realm of swordsmanship. Ivankov and Murloc Haku already knew Luffy's identity, so they didn't say anything, but found it quite interesting. I also chat with Luffy from time to time, which is very enjoyable. Master, I'm going to leave Shimotsuki village after lunch, so I want to advance the previously agreed time by a week. Sikong Ye said suddenly while Luffy was feasting. Koshiro narrowed his eyes when he said that. It stands to reason that he should be happy that the time has advanced. But for some reason, he suddenly felt uneasy, as if his daughter and lover would leave him. But Koshiro understood that even if he refused, it would be meaningless, and the balance would only tilt more clearly in favor of Sikong Ye after a week. Zoro, Kuina, the choice is up to you, I won't interfere whether you go or stay. After a long silence, Koshiro still spoke a more pertinent sentence. A captain who is willing to take out devil fruit and a famous knife as a boarding gift shows that he treats the crew sincerely. Although Koshiro still firmly believes that swordsmen should follow the path of pure swordsmanship, and believes that girls will never be able to become the world's #1 swordsman. But when he saw Kuina crying with joy last night because of his increased strength, he was still sincerely grateful to Sikong Ye for tricking Kuina into eating devil fruit. Therefore, he does not intend to interfere with the choice of his daughter and lover. But the final choice is always Kuina and Zoro. At this time, Kuina was caught in a dilemma, holding the hem of her clothes tightly with her 2 jade hands, and the battle between heaven and man was in her mind. She doesn't really like pirates very much, except for Sikong Ye. And she doesn't like sailing, but it's okay to be with Sikong Ye. But she can't bear her father Koshiro, she can't bear the Yixin Gym, and she can't bear the peace and tranquility of Shimotsuki village. What should I do? It's so confusing. Kuina felt upset and didn't respond for a long time. Conversely, Zoro doesn't have as many twists and turns. He is definitely inclined to go out to sea with Sikong Ye to challenge other kendo masters, and let his name resound through the sea. But he hasn't defeated Kuina yet, so it's somewhat regrettable to leave like this. Of course, if Kuina chooses to go to sea, it will be the best of both worlds. So Zoro also looked to Kuina, waiting for the latter's reply. Time passed by every minute and every second, and the heat of the noon was somewhat depressing. The sound of cicadas singing in the backyard of the gymnasium brought great oppression to Kuina. Seeing that no one responded for a long time, Sikong Ye told the story by himself. I once saw an unnamed tomb on an uninhabited island, with a line of epitaph engraved on it. The silent atmosphere was broken, and everyone at the dinner table became interested. Even Kuina, who didn't know how to make a choice, stopped thinking and became curious about the content engraved on the tombstone. On the tombstone it is written, the sword demon Dugu Chiubai is invincible in the world, but he buried his sword here. Woohoo! The heroes are tied, the sword is empty, and I am sad for my husband. Everyone who originally thought that Sikong Ye was just telling a story to soothe the atmosphere suddenly froze. Dugu Chu lost. The name alone made strong men like Koshiro and Drago feel a sense of aura that belongs to the pinnacle of swordsmanship. Dorag's Conquerors even has the urge to guzzle. The heroes are bound, the long sword is empty. How powerful a swordsman could make such bold words. At this moment Koshiro is convinced that Sikong Ye has seen the tombstone. Otherwise, it would be impossible to fabricate such a shocking and powerful language. And then? Koshiro pressed. I saw the words, buried sword in this place, on the tombstone, and concluded that there must be a sword hidden inside. So I dug up the tomb and saw that there were indeed 3 swords. 3 swords? Could it be that Senior Dugu is also a 3-sword style like me? Zoro exclaimed, and everyone immediately looked at him. Can you have some face? However, Zoro didn't realize it and continued to make bold guesses. Could it be that the 3 dilapidated knives you gave me earlier, Captain, were obtained from the tomb of Senior Dugu? It's not. Sikong Ye interrupted Zoro's fantasy without mercy. Lu Chi's brain circuit is really strange. But when I thought about Zoro coming to the Yixin Gymnasium to kick the gym when he was a child, he joined when he couldn't beat him, and then he ate and drank for more than 10 years, and finally prostituted Dakue Dao and Dao Yuan for nothing. Sikong Ye was instantly relieved. Sure enough, it was still the familiar green algae head, as long as it was related to the sword, it was always right to rub it. What if it gets caught? Aren't those 3 swords the same level as the sword of the vowed victory? Kuina also began to diverge. Shaking his head, Sikong Ye explained. Those 3 swords have been decayed for a long time. It is estimated that they have existed for hundreds of years, and there is no quality. When everyone heard it, they also looked regretful. However, there is a line of words engraved on the bottom of each sword. In an instant, everyone regained their spirits. Could it be the secret book of swordsmanship? The first sword is shining with blue light. Even after years of baptism, it still gives people a sense of sharpness. It is nothing more than the supreme sword. In front of the sword, there is a line of words engraved, sharp and fierce, invincible. Use it to compete with all heroes in the world before the age of 20. 029 Foretelling what will happen next, please make a choice. Koshiro was amazed when he heard the words, he used the supreme sword before the age of 20, he must be a kendo wizard who is rare in a century. However, my precious daughter is only 11 years old and has magic weapons, and with devil fruit in her pocket, her future achievements are limitless. Don't be envious. Sikong Ye continued to speak regardless of what other people thought. The sharp sword has no meaning, and it can be regarded as the realm of swordsmen. Zoro, Kuina, you two are still at the level of swordsman, and you are a little short of this realm. Hearing this, the 2 of Zoro did not refute, they still have self-knowledge. Compared with Dugu Chu who used the supreme sword when he failed in his debut, they are still in the stage of fighting with wooden swords, and they are also embarrassed to put money on their faces. Drago heard some tricks from Sikong Ye. I guess the second sword should represent the realm of the swordsman, and the third sword is the realm of the great swordsman. Hearing that Drago made up his mind without authorization, Sikong Ye curled his lips and didn't answer. There is actually an empty space between the first sword and the second sword, and a long piece of stone is used instead of a sword. In front of the stone is also engraved a line of Senior Dugu's past, Ziwei's soft sword, used before the age of 30, accidentally injured a righteous man. It is unknown, but it was abandoned in the deep valley. Because the soft sword is as soft as silk, its strength is not easy to grasp, so it is a sharp weapon for exercising one's own control. Software is impermanent, which represents the realm of the swordsman. Once you reach this realm, if you want to cut in your heart, there is nothing you can't cut. If you don't want to cut in your heart, you can cut even weeds and white paper. Suddenly, Zoro and Karina realized that the bamboo sword cutting grass that Sikong Ye showed before turned out to be the realm of the swordsman. Drago got stuck. The feeling of being slapped in the face in seconds made him not know what to say for a while. And Koshiro also recalled the scene of Sikong Ye's bamboo sword cutting grass, and the corner of his mouth twitched fiercely. That should have been my lesson plan. After that is a dark iron épée. On the front of the sword is written, the épée has no edge, great skill and no work. Before the age of 40, rely on it to run rampant in the world. The heavy sword has no front. This realm is no longer limited to moves, but a competition of one's own physical strength. It pays attention to one's strength in 10 times, which obviously corresponds to the realm of the great swordsman. Sikong Ye, whose mouth was dry after telling the story for a long time, took a sip of water and continued. Karina, the reason why your father always told you that girls are not as strong as boys in nature, so they can't become the best swordsman in the world, is because the realm of great swordsmen is very particular about strength. Karina trembled when she heard the words, is strength really that important? Shouldn't a swordsman focus on the sword? What kind of real swordsman is a swordsman who simply competes for strength? Before Karina could continue to think, Sikong Ye explained on his own. The realm of the great swordsman has a tendency to return to the basics. It is no longer a competition of those two fancy sword moves, but sword intent. As long as you comprehend the sword intent, integrate the sword intent into the famous sword, carry the sword intent in every move, and be able to split mountains and seas with a single swing, then strength will naturally become the most important thing. Seeing Karina's expression was a little depressed, Sikong Ye quickly expressed his relief. But in my opinion, a great swordsman who purely competes in sword intent and strength is not considered the pinnacle of swordsmanship. Once he hits the realm above a great swordsman, his strength becomes insignificant instead. Hearing that there are realms above the great swordsman, and even that there is no requirement for strength, Karina's eyes burst into an unprecedented look. She didn't suspect that Sikong Ye was lying because the last sword remained in Duguchu's defeated tomb. Koshiro couldn't believe it, but as a great swordsman, he has stagnated in this realm for many years, and he also faintly felt that the great swordsman is not yet at his peak. But he couldn't find the way. I didn't expect that one day I would touch the realm above the great swordsman. So I am more eager for Sikong Ye's next words. Boy Sikong actually holds the secret of the great swordsman in his hands. Ivankov opened his mouth wide, astonished as if he could fit 2 Luffys. It's incredible. Haku the Murloc was equally astonished. Seeing that everyone is waiting for the next article, Sikong Ye smiled slyly. Zoro, Karina, you can predict what will happen next, please make a choice. Puff. Koshiro, who was drinking tea, heard Sikong Ye's sharp turn and sprayed Drago directly in the face. The rest of the people were also stunned by this sentence. Your sister, they have never seen such a brazen person in their life. In order to win over Zoro and Karina, they actually used the realm above the great swordsman as bait. It's really all the tricks, well-intentioned. Drago wiped his face, sincerely admiring the wisdom of the 10-year-old boy in front of him. I'll join, Karina agreed without thinking. At first she hesitated. But now she is eager to know the realm above the great swordsman. In addition, she did not dislike Sikong Ye, so she did not hesitate to abandon Koshiro, Yixin Gymnasium and Shimotsuki Village. Karina. Father, please forgive my impulsiveness, but my determination to become the #1 swordsman in the world cannot be shaken. Looking at Karina's determined eyes, Koshiro was silent for a long time and finally nodded. Having taken Karina, Sikong Ye turned his attention to Zoro. I'll join too. Zoro responded crisply. P.S. To predict what will happen next, please make a choice, guest officials, whether to bookmark, throw flowers, or support an evaluation ticket. Celebrate the 7-day-long holiday of National Day and enjoy reading books. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity time, October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 030. Swordmaster and Sword God Realm, killing the enemy thousands of miles away. The new book asks for flower evaluation votes. Welcome 2 new partners to join. Sikong Ye smiled brightly, and the recruitment plan that had been planned for a week was finally successful. Then Sikong Ye glanced at Koshiro and Drago and others. For the sake of your descendants being my crew members, I will reluctantly let you sit in. Koshiro. Drago. Ivankov, Murloc Haku. This kid is really annoying. but in order to hear the realm represented by Senior Dugu's last sword, he suppressed his depressed emotions. The last sword is actually a wooden sword, which has been so decayed that the outline can barely be seen. Sikong Ye revealed the answer. Wooden sword? Everyone was puzzled. Zoro and Kuina felt incredible. The realm above the great swordsman actually used a wooden sword? Koshiro, who is a great swordsman, looked suspicious when he heard this answer. After all, the strength of the great swordsman is too fierce. Even if an ordinary wooden sword is attached to armament hockey, it will not be able to support a few moves. This is why so many swordsmen in the sea want to find famous knives. Sikong Ye ignored Koshiro's questioning look and continued. In front of the wooden sword is written, after the age of 40, don't stick to things. Plants, trees, bamboo and stones can all be used as swords. Since then, I have been intensively practicing and gradually progressing to the realm where no sword is better than having a sword. Boom. As soon as these words came out, Koshiro, who was still full of doubts just now, felt a roar in his mind. Plants, trees, bamboo and stones can all be swords. This sentence awakened Koshiro instantly. That's right, always fighting with famous knives, let these swordsmen become dependent. Those swordsmen who say, the sword is in the man's life, the sword is in the man's life. In fact, it just confirmed the proverb that, success is also famous for swords, and failure is also famous for swords. Many great swordsmen in the sea have a famous sword with them, and they have never thought of using grass, trees, bamboo and stones as swords, because in their opinion, this will weaken the power of the sword. However, in fact, this move can enhance the swordsman's own control over power. What horrified Koshiro the most was the phrase, no sword is better than a sword. This is a higher realm. The sentence before the wooden sword actually explained two realms. Koshiro is enlightened, Drago understands a little, Ivankov and Murloc Haku are a little confused, and Zoro and Kuina are completely confused. So Sikong Ye patiently explained. Wooden swords are incomparable. Using grass, wood, bamboo and stone as swords is the realm of a swordmaster. This is the realm after controlling one's own power to a certain extent. Many great swordsmen often cut mountains and seas when fighting with their opponents. However, in my opinion, this is a manifestation of insufficient control of power. If the power of splitting mountains and breaking seas is concentrated to one point, perhaps only 1% of the power can instantly kill the opponent. Having said that, Sikong Ye looked at Kuina. This is what I said, the reason why the power above the great swordsman has become insignificant. Kuina's heart trembled violently. Even though she ate devil fruit, because she was denied by her father since she was a child, she has no idea whether she can become the #1 swordsman in the world. But now, with Sikong Ye's explanation, even though he is not very clear about the realm of Juggernaut, he has found a direction. Kuina was very restless at the moment. No one knows how hard she has worked all these years not to be surpassed by Zoro. Kuina is not someone who can afford to lose. But no matter how hard she tried, she was finally defeated by the difference in physique between men and women, so how could she be reconciled? At this moment, all dissatisfaction disappeared, and Kuina suddenly felt that his mind was clear. Strength is only a part of the way of the sword, not the whole of the way of the sword, and it cannot determine the upper limit of a person's way of the sword. This is what Kuina learned from Sikong Ye's narration. Tears welled up in his eyes and finally flowed out silently. Kuina didn't sob. Just smiled and shed tears that have been pent up for many years. Koshiro felt even more guilty when he saw Kuina laughing and crying. He originally wanted to protect Kuina, prevent Kuina from getting involved in danger, and be an ordinary person with peace of mind, so he put the cruel truth in front of him too early. However, it turns out that hitting a child's dream is wrong and narrow. He is just a great swordsman, not even the best swordsman in the world. What qualifications do you have to judge whether a person can become the #1 swordsman in the world? A teardrop slipped from the corner of his eye, and Koshiro closed his eyes. He is not a qualified father. Of course, from Sikong Ye's point of view, it doesn't matter whether Koshiro closed his eyes or not. No sword, no moves. The last sentence Senior Dugu wanted to express was the realm of the sword god. Use your fingers together to form a sword, and cut the enemy thousands of miles away. With one thought, 10,000 swords will return to their ancestors. A few majestic words shocked everyone for a long time without words. However, what shocked everyone even more was that Sikong Ye suddenly put two fingers together on his right hand and waved lightly towards the outside of the dining room. A black sword light shot out violently. The sword glow just hit the wooden stake in the backyard, cut the wooden stake into two pieces, and the upper half fell to the ground with a clang. Isn't this the state of Senior Dugu saying that no sword is better than sword? Unexpectedly, Sikong Ye actually showed it. Could it be that Sikong Ye is the sword god? Kuina and Zoro opened their mouths wide, their faces full of surprise, shock, admiration and other emotions. At this moment, in the eyes of both of them, Sikong Ye is full of superior demeanor. Chapter 031. 6 realms passed down from generation to generation. You are such a genius for sharpening knives. Seeing Sikong Ye and pointing to Cheng Jian, Koshiro twitched his mouth fiercely, showing a wave of no sword is better than a sword. How dare you think I'm blind? That black sword light is obviously Dark Fruit's ability. Not to mention Koshiro, the great swordsman, even the three of Dorag have black lines all over their heads, and Sikong Ye's wave of manipulation made their scalps tingle. But for the sake of Sikong Ye telling them about Senior Dugu's kendo realm, the few people were tactful and didn't expose it. It's amazing. Luffy, who was feasting, made a joke. Sikong Ye hides merit and fame deeply and has no succession. Even if Zoro and Kuina find out the truth later, they can't trouble him, they can only blame their own blindness and misunderstanding. After Luffy was full, everyone began to eat lunch. Since Luffy came, Koshiro never cooks again, but invites 3 cooks from the village to cook. The cook's skills are not bad, and the host and guest enjoyed the meal. After dinner, Kuina and Zoro went back to their respective rooms to pack their things. Sikong Ye left Koshiro and Drago alone. Master, what do you think will happen if Senior Dugu's sword state is spread all over the world? Hiss. Koshiro and Drago gasped at the same time. Immediately, Sikong Ye felt that the oxygen level in the dining room dropped. This move will definitely bring changes to swordsmen all over the world. Koshiro calmed down and made a pertinent analysis. Little friend Sikong, do you want to make it public? Sikong Ye nodded. Anyway, the Sword of Vowed Victory has pushed him to the cusp of the storm, so it's better to ride the wind and waves by himself. Take the opportunity to get marine rewards to complete the achievement tasks of the system. Of course, Sikong Ye is also psychologically prepared for the risks that follow. He is not a reckless man, but he is crazier than anyone else when he is reckless. This matter still requires Mr. Dorag to help contact Morgans. This is why Sikong Ye left Dorag. It's best to announce my identity as the first discoverer of the ruins, and let Marine offer a reward to me. Are you sure? Dorag asked in a deep voice. He was worried that Sikong Ye would play off, and smashed his son into the pit too. I have a measure. Sikong Ye just calmly responded with 4 words. After Dorag confirmed that Sikong Ye was not swollen-faced to pretend to be fat, he agreed. There was no mention of remuneration on either side. After all, the Revolutionary Army can make a small profit by selling information to Morgans, so naturally they will not ask Sikong Ye for it. After the 3 discussed, they left separately. Koshiro wants to spend more time with Kuina during the last time. Drago took the cadres directly to the ship and left. The identity of the Revolutionary Army was too sensitive to stay in the same place for too long. Sikong Ye found Zoro who had packed all his luggage, and Luffy who was wandering in the dojo, and the 3 waited for Kuina together. However, it didn't take long before they heard screams from the utility room in the backyard. It's Kuina's voice. Sikong Ye reacted quickly and directly cast an ultra-distance ship to appear beside Kuina. With a burst of space shaking, Sikong Ye came to the utility room, and what he saw was the scene of Kuina standing beside a ladder. At this time, Kuina was staring blankly at the protruding stones on the ground, with a look of shock on his face. Koshiro also heard the news at this time. Seeing Sikong Ye suddenly appearing in the knowledge color sensor, he ignored it, and instead asked about Kuina's condition with concern. Kuina, are you okay? Koshiro was a little annoyed. He was going to get some money, dry food and cotton jacket for Kuina, but he didn't expect that an accident happened 2 minutes after he left. Kuina shook her head, pointing to a broken rung on the ladder. Father, I'm fine. I just accidentally fell off the ladder. Fortunately, I mastered the wind element and let myself float for a second, otherwise my head would hit a rock. Koshiro naturally also noticed the sharp rock on the ground, and suddenly felt lingering fear. Fortunately, my daughter is fine. At this moment, he is very grateful that Kuina ate the fruit of the wind elf, otherwise. Koshiro didn't dare to think about it anymore, he didn't know what it would be like to lose his daughter. It's fine, it's fine. At this moment, Koshiro hugged Kuina tightly like an old father. Seeing this, Sikong Ye also heaved a sigh of relief. I didn't expect that the plot would start to be corrected if I didn't pay attention. Really hard to guard against. It was the same in Windmill Village back then. Seeing that Luffy was about to board the boat, it turned out to be the king of the sea. But Sikong Ye is not defenseless. The wind spirit fruit is his insurance for Kuina. By the way, Kuina, this is going to go, what are you doing in the utility room? Sikong Ye was full of doubts. I want to take a whetstone away to sharpen the sword of the vowed victory. Kuina muttered in a low voice. Sikong Ye was completely speechless. You are such a genius for sharpening knives. The sword of vowed victory belongs to the level of a magic soldier. It has short hair and does not need to be sharpened at all. Forget it, pack your luggage quickly, we are ready to go before it gets dark. After speaking, Sikong Ye left the utility room. Let's leave the last moment of parting to the father and daughter. 032 The Lingering Avenger, attached to the pirate ship. Shimotsuki Village Port. Looking at the distant figure of the Emperor Star, a man boarded a fishing boat and chased it away. Sikong Ye, Luffy, or the rest of the Zwei pirates, you all will die. The man on the fishing boat is exactly Scar, and his life is as expected by Sikong Ye, a complete social death. Every time he walks on the street, he can hear the laughter of passers-by, which makes Scar feel like a clown. Obviously he was killing the hateful pirates for the sake of the village. Why is it now a joke? Just because that guy named Luffy is the grandson of the marine hero. HMPH, that Sikong Ye still wants to trick me into joining Marine, I really think I'm stupid. Marine is Garp's territory, who knows if the other party will wear shoes for him. He will not be fooled. The fishing boat gradually moved away from the village of Shimotsuki, and it also became farther and farther away from the Emperor Star. Not long after going out to sea, Scar saw a newspaper delivery gull carrying a stack of newspapers. Hee, as expected, God has favored me, Sikong Ye, if you make me unable to stay in Shimotsuki village, then I will make you unable to stay in the sea. After whistling, the newspaper delivery gull quickly landed on the fishing boat and handed Scar a newspaper. Scar directly gave the paper delivery gull 100 Baileys, and then took out a note and handed it over. This piece of paper records the source of the golden light from East Blue last night. Emperor Star, in the captain's cabin, there are only Sikong Ye and Karina at the moment. You mean, after you obtained the Sword of Oath of Victory, you bound a ship? Sikong Ye, who was at the helm, looked surprised. Is this what the system means by recruiting members of the breaking army can unlock the corresponding attached pirate ship? It can't be said to be bound. Karina pointed her index finger at her chin in thought. To be precise, it should be that I have a little more connection with that ship, and I have obtained some information and some privileges. What's there? Sikong Ye asked. He also asked the system just now, but the system asked him to ask Karina himself. The information in my mind tells me that I have a heroic spirit ship. Currently, the heroic spirit ship coincides with the main ship Emperor Star in the multi-dimensional folding space. In other words, what is folding space? Karina was puzzled. Multi-dimensional folding space. It seems to be a phenomenon in which multiple spaces are folded into the same space. Sikong Ye was uncertain. What does this have to do with affiliated pirate ships? Oh, no wonder. The information mentioned that the heroic spirit ship coincides with the Emperor Star, and the heroic spirit ship can be entered through the world transmitting gate. And the heroic spirit ship is not in this space, but another space. It can share the main ship's vision, hearing and other senses, but it cannot touch all the people and things in this space. After listening to Karina's description, Sikong Ye has a certain understanding of the existence of the subsidiary pirate ship. Then how do we get to the heroic spirit ship? I can open a world transmitting door on the Emperor Star, and have the authority to open and close freely. As Karina said, she came to the side of the captain's cabin and drew a circle facing the bulkhead, and then the center of the circle became transparent, sparkling like the surface of water. Sikong Ye could see the opposite scene from the circle. It was an old sailing ship, old and decayed. It's a bit similar to a ghost ship, and it's about the same size as the Emperor Star. Outside the heroic spirit ship, you can see the vast sea and blue sky, which is exactly the same as the scene around the Emperor Star. Sikong Ye didn't go in, but instead asked about the system. The qualification to open and close the portal is in Karina's hands. What if I can't get in or out? Return to host. You have the super distance ship, so you don't need to worry about this situation, and the host can take back the authority of the broken army at any time. After receiving the system's response, Sikong Ye was relieved. But he still didn't go in. The heroic spirit ship is not very popular at the moment, and it's tattered, so there's nothing to see. Instead, he was more curious about what other privileges Karina had, and what special effects the heroic spirit ship had. He didn't believe that the subsidiary pirate ships unlocked by the system would have no special effects. The heroic spirit ship can summon heroic spirits, that is, dead souls. But if you want to summon the souls of the dead, you need to sign a contract with the living person. Contracts are divided into passive and active. Passive contracts do not require the consent of the parties. Anyone within my field of vision can contract. The contractor will automatically appear on the heroic spirit ship after death, and has the authority to move freely on the heroic spirit ship. Active contracts require the parties to sign and affix verbal acknowledgement. The contractor will also appear on the heroic spirit ship after death, but he needs to complete the corresponding duties before he can enjoy the authority to move freely. Hearing Karina's introduction to the two contracts, Sikong Ye suddenly understood. No wonder Karina's boarding gift packs are all treasures from the moon world. It turned out that the system had planned to let Karina manage the heroic ship early in the morning. Immediately afterwards, as if thinking of something, Sikong Ye couldn't help but his eyes lit up. Karina, are those heroic spirits immortal? Well, as long as the heroic spirit ships last forever, they will live forever. Of course, the contractor can choose to cancel the contract and return to death. Karina nodded. P.S. Sorry everyone, it took a lot of time to get vaccinated today. After the vaccination, my left hand has no strength, and it will be even less, please Hyhan. 033 aim at Zailuobu village and catch a potential partner. Come on, let's go back to Shimotsuki village. Seeing that Sikong Ye was about to change course, Karina quickly pulled Sikong Ye back. Under Sikong Ye's suspicious eyes, Karina asked, are you planning to let me go back and perform passive contracts for relatives and friends? This made Sikong Ye startled. Could it be that you have already used it on them? Karina didn't hold back, just nodded and admitted. Not only that, I also contracted Luffy's father and the two people around him. Seeing Kuina being so witty, Sikong Ye smiled in relief. Fortunately, there is a smart person on board. If they are like Luffy and Zoro, Sikong Ye will be very worried about management. Good job, Kuina. After I recruit new crew members, you will be responsible for inquiring about the relatives and friends they care about, and then contract them. The reason why Sikong Ye did this was to provide a layer of insurance for the relatives and friends of the crew in case someone retaliated. Hee, no problem, I had this plan too. Kuina smiled playfully. After the heavy shackles were lifted, Kuina looked very cheerful. Sikong Ye is happy to see it come to fruition, and the blank-eyed Kuina in the original book has become a thing of the past. By the way, don't tell anyone about your heroic spirit ship for now. Although it was unclear what arrangement Sikong Ye had, Kuina didn't ask much. After sending Kuina to training, Sikong Ye stood alone in the captain's cabin, pondered for a long time, and decided to change course. The celestial dragons will arrive in 2 months, so don't go back and hurry back to Windmill Village. Looking at the landmark of Zailuobu village on the navigator, the corners of Sikong Ye's mouth rose. The sniper god Usopp. This is an extremely timid but quite brave sniper. It should be noted that the words, Zoro in good times, Luffy in bad times, and Usopp in desperate situations, are not just words. Usopp does have the ability to counterattack. Originally, it was easy to recruit Usopp, but Sikong Ye planned to wait until Ace and Sabo were recruited before going to Silab village. But now with the heroic ship, he might be able to recruit Usopp more easily. By the way, there is also that strong little girl Kaya. Sikong Ye thought, but he didn't know whether the system recognized these two people. Open the system panel. God-level pirate group system. Host information. Filled diamond name, Sikong Ye. Filled diamond position, Captain. Filled diamond strength, E level. Filled diamond skills, longevity and boat, Yumi boat spirit, boat heart and boat meaning, super distance boat delivery. Filled diamond characteristics, dark fruit 13%. Partner information. Filled diamond 7 kills, Luffy, Zoro. Filled diamond breaking army, Kuina. Filled diamond greedy wolf, none. Hull information. Filled diamond ship type, 2-masted screw boat. Filled diamond defense, class E. Filled diamond power, wind type, human type. Filled diamond space, 60 cubic meters. Filled diamond basic, captain's cabin X1, anchor X1, open deck X1, water pump X1, water storage tank X1, seawater purification device X1, solar panel X2. Filled diamond weapon, heroic ship. Filled diamond room, reception cabin X1, kitchen X1, bathroom X1, double bedroom cabin X2. Task information. Filled diamond main line, fledgling. Filled diamond routine, recruit partners. Filled diamond achievements, total wealth over 10 million. Filled diamond achievements, total rewards over 10,000. Filled diamond branch line, have a reward order. Filled diamond support line, 30 days sailing. Filled diamond subject, swim for an hour. The captain's combat power has been upgraded to E-class, 2 more partners have been added, and the heroic spirit ship has been assigned to the hull information weapons category. The side quest to compete with 10 fellow fighters was also completed before leaving the gymnasium this afternoon. At that time, he was still at the F+ rank, and challenging all F rank opponents was considered an effective match. Sikong Ye naturally won easily. When he defeated the 10th player, due to the accumulation of combat experience, he just broke through to the E level. After completing the task, Sikong Ye chose a gourmet machine. As long as raw materials are added to the machine and dishes are input, the gourmet machine can automatically make gourmet food. In this way, Sikong Ye will not have to worry about cooking in the future. The only thing to worry about is the ingredients. So Sikong Ye asked Koshiro for a pair of fishing rods before leaving, and arranged for Luffy and Zoro to take turns fishing. Wow, I caught a fish. Suddenly, Luffy's exclamation came from the weather deck. Fool, that's a woman. Murloc, it's a woman. Zoro roared, before jumping down to save her. Seeing this, Sikong Ye flew over Zoro's head with a Yumi Schwanling, and then kicked him flying when he dispelled it. You are a landlubber, and you still want to go into the water to save people. I forgot. Wait, if it wasn't for the captain, you tricked me, I wouldn't know how to swim. Zoro smiled awkwardly at first, and then found out that the culprit was Sikong Ye, and immediately became furious. Sikong Ye laughed and dropped the rope to rescue the girl. But he was asking the system in his heart, is there a way to remove the devil fruit curse? Go back to the host, you will have a chance to get a Seastone training bracelet after completing the side missions, and you can gradually eliminate the side effects by wearing the bracelet. Hearing that the system has a solution, Sikong Ye immediately felt relieved. Immediately afterwards, a column of information popped up above the girl's head. Potential partner, Karina. Available positions, Breaking Army Team, Greedy Wolf Team. Assessment of Combat Strength, F Class. Included features, none. Chapter 034. The Phantom Thief Karina appears, cutting the Hujinjin fruit. Karina. Seeing the system information, Sikong Ye stared at the girl kneeling on the deck gasping for air, slightly surprised. Isn't this the phantom thief Karina who is as famous as the little thief cat Nami? Appeared in the theatrical version of the Golden City. He is an intelligent talent who combines deception and stealing. The theatrical version even took Tezolo's golden ship as his own at the end. However, it is only about 8 years old at present, which is much jerkier than in the theatrical version. As a potential partner certified by the system, it is also the first existence that can fit the two teams. Immediately, Sikong Ye became interested. I just don't know if Karina has become a phantom thief at this moment. Which island did you swim from? Hearing Sikong Ye's question, Karina choked out a mouthful of water. Is this a question normal people can ask? Ahem, the passenger ship I was on was attacked by pirates. The captain of the pirate wanted to sell me to a slave trader for money, so I jumped into the sea. I thought I would be buried in the sea, but I didn't expect to meet you. Thank you for saving me. Karina's big watery eyes were full of gratitude. Luffy giggled. Zoro and Kuina remained silent, obviously still a little wary of strangers. The logic is smooth and impeccable, which makes Sikong Ye suspicious. He doesn't have time to play phantom thief with Karina, though, bluntly. It seems that you are very unfortunate. You managed to escape from the wolf's den, but ended up in the tiger's den. Actually, I am also a pirate. After saying these words, Sikong Ye found that although Karina was extremely panicked, she had no intention of jumping into the sea, and immediately determined that the other party was acting. Give you two choices, either join my pirate group, or throw you into the sea to feed the fish. Sikong Ye directly issued an ultimatum. He is not the virgin, and he wants to rub against his ship if he does not join his pirate group. There is no door. Karina puffed her cheeks when she heard this. She was very angry but didn't dare to attack. Okay, I'll join. In desperation, Karina had no choice but to compromise for the time being. At the same time, he made up his mind that he must steal Sikong Ye's pirate group until there is no pants left. Ding. Regular task. Recruiting partners. The fourth ring has been completed. Please choose Devil Fruit. Option 1. Golden Fruit. Option 2. Mara Mara Fruit. Option 3. Thunder Fruit. Sikong Ye thought he was dazzled, but he actually saw the golden fruit. The golden fruit seems to be the fruit of the Golden Emperor Gilder Tezolo. Could it be that the golden fruit has not been eaten yet? Thinking about it, it does seem possible. Fisher Tiger frees Mariajoy slaves in 1507. 3 years after Gilder Tezolo's escape, a gang of thugs broke into the Don Quixote auction house and stole the golden fruit. System, I choose the golden fruit. Sikong Ye hastily made a choice, fearing that the golden fruit would be eaten a second later. Sabayati Archipelago. At port number 7, a pirate ship that has crossed the membrane is sinking towards the bottom of the sea. On the boat, a green-haired man wearing a pink bag suit and sunglasses laughed wantonly, playing with a golden spiral fruit in his hand. Ha ha ha, as long as I have this devil fruit, which symbolizes wealth, I can rule the whole world. Stella, believe me, I will definitely avenge you. Just when Tezuolo opened his mouth and was about to bite off the golden fruit, he felt lonely. Tezuolo glanced at his palm, and the golden fruit had already disappeared without a trace. He turned his head to look at the other subordinates, who also looked confused, expressing that they didn't know where Jinjinguo went. Find it for me. Tezuolo was completely mad now. He was the fruit he snatched at the risk of offending Doflamingo, and he disappeared before he ate it. No one would be in a good mood. However, the men searched around and found no trace. Tezuolo asked everyone to wear seastone handcuffs again, but there was still no response. Apparently the golden fruit disappeared on a coated boat that dived into the bottom of the sea. Damn it. Tezuolo panicked completely. Without the golden fruit, what would he use to fight Doflamingo? It seems that New World can't go. Navigator turned around. I'm going to East Blue. Tezuolo gave the order. Today's news headlines reported the whereabouts of East Blue's surprise discovery of a mysterious famous knife. Without the golden fruit, he must look for everything that can improve his strength. East Blue, Emperor Star. Golden fruit is not suitable for Karina, let's keep it for now. Thinking in his heart, Sikong Ye arranged Karina and Kuina to the same double-bedroom cabin, while he and Luffy slept in the previous double-bedroom cabin. As for Zoro, let's sleep on the sofa for now. There was no other way, as the space of 60 cubic meters was too small after all. Ding. Intern Karina is suitable for 2 teams at the same time, please choose one. Option 1. Breaking the army. Option 2. Team Greedy Wolf. Sikong Ye didn't even think about it, so he directly chose to break the army. With Karina's wisdom, managing a subsidiary pirate ship is more than enough. Karina's boarding package should be given to her after a while. Sikong Ye decided to keep the boarding gift bag in his hands before the strange thief completely owned the Emperor Star. Chapter 035 Dugu Sword Realm Exposure, Hawkeye Mahawk Buried Sword. Unbelievable. East Blue discovered the tomb of sword demon Dugu Chubai 800 years ago. The whole world is crazy, this person is actually dancing on the grave of Senior Dugu. You may not know that the famous knife that shone throughout East Blue the night before came from the tomb of Dugu. I regret it if I don't look at it. Senior Dugu used 3 swords to interpret the 6 realms of swordsmanship. It has been 2 days since the Emperor Star left Shimotsuki village, and the information that Sikong Ye asked Dorag to publish also appeared in the headlines of World Economic News. The whole world was shaken by Senior Dugu's 6 realms of kendo. Countless swordsmen on the sea went completely crazy and regarded it as a sacred scripture. Those swordsmen stuck in the bottleneck finally got a glimpse of the door, and wept with joy. However, the ones who really felt the trembling were those great swordsmen. The sword state they are proud of is not the end. Some people doubted this, and some people couldn't wait to ask for proof. New World, Kryjana Island. Mihawk's right hand was shaking as he held the newspaper. So it's because I rely too much on the sword in my hand, so I haven't been able to find a higher state of swordsmanship. Stab it. After crushing the newspaper, Hawkeye Mihawk came to the center of the island, drew out the black sword Yaya, and cut a bottomless ravine with one sword. Throw the black sword knight into it, and fill it up. Bury the sword here. If I don't reach the realm of the sword god, I, Mihawk, don't need Hidoye in this life. Whether it is 4 seas or Grand Line, similar situations are happening all over the world. Some swordsmen even directly break their swords to show their ambitions, threatening that the foreign object is Kyoka Suigetsu after all. Sikong Ye, who was training on the Emperor Star, didn't know that he had mistreated countless swordsmen. 10 rounds of Saitama set meals a day, it seems that my physical fitness has become stronger again, but... Sikong Ye glanced at Luffy and Zoro who were training for the 100th round of long-distance running on the treadmills on both sides of the deck, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. Then he aimed at Karina who was doing the 50th round of push-ups, and the whole person fell silent. When will I, the captain, really stand up? Diddy. Karina, acting as lookout and helmsman, let out a siren. Then he said to everyone on the deck, there is a pirate ship at 10 o'clock ahead. Luffy, Zoro and Karina immediately became interested when they heard this. After 2 days of training, they couldn't wait to find someone to prove their strength, and this pirate ship came at the right time. Leave these pirates to me. Luffy had already seen the shadow of the pirate ship, and reached out to grab the opposite mast. With the 3000 world suit in his waist, Zoro took the opportunity to hug Luffy. You don't want to eat alone, I want to fight at least 10. Seeing this, Kuina looked at Sikong Ye. However, Sikong Ye spread his hands. I won't get involved. Then I'll fly there by myself. With the sword of the vowed victory on her back, Kuina steered a breeze to gently drag herself up, and then floated towards the opposite pirate ship. Karina, who came out of the captain's cabin, was stunned when she saw that the group of people seemed to have been beaten with chicken blood. It's true that newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. Those real pirates on the sea are extremely cruel. Where a few children like the Zwei pirates go out to sea together, it's like a spring outing. Aren't you afraid of pirates? We are also pirates, why should we be afraid? Real pirates are extremely cruel, bloodthirsty and even sell children as slaves. Oh, that's because you haven't seen the brutal side of our pirate group, or you should be more worried about the opposite pirate group now. Karina became more and more confused, so Sikong Ye asked Karina to pull the boat over. Ask yourself. Karina refused, but what the captain said gave her the illusion that she could try to believe it. When the Emperor Star was getting closer and closer to the hostile pirate ship, Karina heard a faint wail. Following the Prestige, I saw a sea of pirates lying down on the opposite pirate ship. Zoro, you're lying, you killed all the pirates in an instant, I should have kicked you into the sea if I had known. Luffy growled. I didn't know they were so weak. I only used one move. Is it my fault that they are too weak? Zoro expressed his innocence. Kuina rested her forehead with her hand, and the battle was over before she had drawn her sworn victory sword, which was really boring. Listening to the conversation between Luffy and Zoro, Karina opened her small mouth slightly with a look of seeing a ghost. Look, is this a human language? Killing a pirate group with one move, still think the other party is too weak. Seeing that Sikong Ye was full of confidence, he thought that the 3 of them had extraordinary strength and could compete with the pirate team on the opposite side. Who would have thought or underestimated the strength of Sikong Ye's crew? Only one Zoro was dispatched, and Zoro only used one move, and all the pirates on the opposite side were wiped out. Sikong Ye smiled. The system once said that the equipment gift packs will be unlocked one after another as the development level increases. Apparently, Zoro has initially mastered the method of controlling the sword of the magic sword Shinran. Luffy, swallow these men up. Zoro, you and Kuina move supplies from enemy ships. Sikong Ye gave orders in an orderly manner. Immediately afterwards, everyone saw that Luffy's palm suddenly grew bigger, then wrapped around a pirate, and devoured him completely. This scene scared Karina back again and again. Even Zoro and Kuina looked at Luffy with horror on their faces. 036 The first reward is announced, Rinnegan and Tensegan. Don't panic, this is Luffy's unique devouring ability, not an ogre. And he only devours brutal pirates. Sikong Ye explained, and everyone was a little relieved. Karina has a deeper understanding of the brutality of the Zwei pirates. And made up my mind in my heart, never reveal my motives without absolute certainty. Kuina and Zoro successively transported the supplies back to the Emperor Star, and their total wealth increased from 1.5 million berries to 3.6 million. At the same time, we also collected a lot of fresh ingredients such as fruits, vegetables and meat. Unfortunately, that's not enough for Luffy to eat. Captain, I found today's newspaper and a reward order on this pirate ship. Hey, I was actually offered a reward, what's going on? Sikong Ye was taken aback by Kuina's words, and quickly grabbed the reward order to check. Sure enough, 4 members of the Zwei pirates were offered rewards. Black Hand Sikong Ye, only 10 years old, the captain of the Zwei pirates, who is suspected of dark fruit ability, and offers a reward of 3,000. Immortal Luffy, only 7 years old, the leader and deputy captain of the Zwei pirates 7 killing team, has unlimited resurrection ability, and offers a reward of 6,000. Wind Sword Kuina, only 11 years old, a member of the Zwei pirates, suspected of mastering the devil fruit of the wind attribute Phantom Beast, a reward of 1,000 is offered. 3 Swords Zoro, only 9 years old, a member of the Zwei pirates, suspected of being a 3 swordsman, with a reward of 50. Sikong Ye found that most of the information in the reward came from Shimotsuki village. Even newspapers reported that the mysterious golden light of East Blue came from Shimotsuki village the night before, and it was caused by a famous knife. At the same time, it also said that this famous knife came from the tomb of Dugu Chubai, and it is now on the Zwei pirates. One piece of news after another is obviously intended to push Sikong Ye and the entire Zwei pirates to the forefront. Although it doesn't affect me much, it's still very uncomfortable to be calculated by others. Sikong Ye thought, and was also very dissatisfied with the reward offered by Marine. No one surpassed 10,000 Baileys. Could it be that old fellow Garp is doing the trick? Damn it, why is my reward only 50 Baileys? Zoro expressed his dissatisfaction, his little face flushed with anger. Puff. Forgive Sikong Ye for laughing unkindly, this is the treatment of Chopper in the original book. Compared to Zoro, Luffy is extremely excited. I have a reward of 6,000. Damn it, Luffy, I'm going to duel with you. At this moment, the system prompt sounded in Sikong Ye's mind. Ding. The side mission. Possession of the bounty order has been completed. Please select the hull facility. Option 1. Plunge pool. Option 2. Seastone bracelet. Option 3. Solar torch. Ding. Achievement mission. Total reward over 10,000 has been completed. Please select the captain characteristic. Option 1. Rinnegan. Option 2. Tensegan. Option 3. Rinne Sharingan. After hearing the rewards of the bounty mission, Sikong Ye put aside the side mission and checked the brief introduction of the 3 options. Filled Diamond Rinnegan. Initially in the form of 1 Tomo Sharingan, it can be improved according to the hockey practice method, and has the ability to control life and death. Filled Diamond Tensegan. Initially in the form of white eyes, it can be improved according to the hockey practice method, and has the ability to destroy and create the world. Filled Diamond Rinne Sharingan. Initially, the left eye is Sharingan and the right eye is in the form of white eyes. According to the hockey practice method, it can be improved. It can master 2 pupil techniques at the same time, but each pupil technique can only exert half its power. Cultivation of non-world features will be automatically corrected to consume physical or mental power, and the growth mechanism of this feature will be adjusted appropriately so that the upper limit is not higher than that of the One Piece world. The system will give prompts in due course. Sikong Ye is not surprised by this, because he has already seen some clues from the crew members using the characteristics. You must know that Majin Buu is an existence that destroys planets at every turn in the world of Dragon Ball. It stands to reason that even if Luffy gets 1%, it is enough to be invincible in the world, but in fact, the Devil's physique does not show such an exaggerated effect on Luffy. Sikong Ye turned his attention back to 3 feature options. According to the introduction, practicing pupil technique is equivalent to practicing hockey. Hockey is mainly divided into 3 types: knowledge color, armed color and conquerors. Knowledge color is a kind of power that can strongly feel the voice of the other party. It can extract the position and number of enemies outside the field of vision, as well as the actions that the opponent will take in the next moment. The armed color is like an invisible armor, which can improve the individual defense. It can also evolve into attack power, and then compete with demon fruit power, and even touch the Logia fruit ability entity. Conquerors relies on its own aura to shock or stun the enemy, producing a coercive effect. This is the haki, the aptitude of king, that only one chosen among millions can master. In Sikong Ye's view, Conqueror's haki is equivalent to a certain use of spiritual power. Attaching spiritual power to the senses to enhance perception is the color of knowledge. And attaching mental power to muscles, skin, blood vessels, bones, internal organs, and cells to improve physical fitness is armed color. If you attach spiritual power to your spirit to increase your coercion, it is Conquerors. Chapter 037 Exercise Observation Haki. Arrive in Sarab village. To put it bluntly, Rinnegan and Tensegan are blood successors with the nature of yin and yang escape. Yin escape is spiritual power, and yang escape is vitality. The system changes the improvement method of the two-pupil techniques to the hockey practice method, which is equivalent to improving the spiritual power and vitality of the two-pupil techniques. There is nothing wrong with that system. I choose the Seastone bracelet for the first reward, and the Rinne Sharingan for the second reward. In an instant, Sikong Ye felt a burning pain as if his eyes were filled with magma. He reached out to rub, but the system reminded him not to interfere with the fusion process. So Sikong Ye could only endure the severe pain that swirled in his eye sockets. The process lasted 10 minutes, but Sikong Ye felt as if a century had passed. As 2 lines of blood and tears fell from the corners of his eyes, the scene in front of him gradually became clear. Opening his eyes, Sikong Ye found that the whole world seemed to become slow and transparent, so he hurried to the bathroom to look in the mirror. At this time, the two-pupil techniques completely merged with Sikong Ye's eyes. Sikong Ye's left eye is not blood red like ordinary Sharingan, and his right eye is not pure white like ordinary white eyes. It was still his original pair of purple eyes. It's just that there is a black hook jade suspended around the pupil of the left eye, and it slowly rotates around the pupil. And the pupil of the right eye disappeared, only a piece of purple like a vast star. This is the state where the pupil technique has not been activated, and of course the pupil technique will not change. With a flash of thought, Sikong Ye instantly activated his pupils, and all the scenes within a radius of 1 kilometer came into view. This is the basic effect of white eyes. It has the abilities of telescopic vision, clairvoyant vision and insight vision. Sharingan also has insights. The superposition of the 2 phases allows Sikong Ye to perceive extremely detailed things. Sikong Ye can see clearly the trajectory of even a speck of dust. In addition, Sharingan also has the ability of replication, hypnosis, etc., which is very practical. Correspondingly, the consumption of the pupil art was quite huge, and it took only 1 second to consume all of Sikong Ye's physical strength. It seems that hockey's practice needs to be put on the agenda. Sikong Ye murmured. Exercising your body and strengthening your physical strength can certainly increase the duration of pupil art, but if you want to practice pupil art to a higher level, you must start practicing hockey. It is still too early to cultivate armed color with his 10-year-old physique, but he can start to cultivate knowledge color. As for conquerors, it's just luck. Sikong Ye found a strip of cloth and a soft pillow, and handed the pillow to Karina. Quick, hit me with a pillow. Then Sikong Ye tied his eyes with cloth strips and stood quietly in the middle of the deck. That's right, this is the method that Sikong Ye thought of to practice knowledge color. Similar to Rayleigh training Luffy in the original book. It's just that what Rayleigh offers is a crash course. Attacking with wooden sticks can not only train the knowledge color but also enhance the armed color. But Sikong Ye is only 10 years old, he is still a child, how can he use such a violent teaching mode? Be gentle of course. Karina hugged the pillow in a daze, this was the first time she encountered such a request. Even with a pillow, Karina was happy to beat Sikong Ye up. Who told the captain to throw her into the sea to feed the fish? Ah, Karina let out a loud cry. A pillow kill with no sound or power hits Sikong Ye. Don't make a sound while attacking. Sikong Ye was speechless. Young master, I am training my sense of knowledge, what are you yelling at? The attack intention is exposed, how can it have the effect of training? Oh, Karina nodded dumbly, and attacked again. Be soft on your feet and I can hear you behind me. Don't breathe too much. The frequency of attacks should not be too regular, fast and slow can be unexpected. Quote. Sikong Ye adjusted the toolman Karina's attack method while trying to avoid the pillow kill. Karina, who was swinging a sword not far away, was amused. The movement of swinging the sword became more violent. After another 3 days, the Emperor Star finally arrived at Zailuobu village. From a long distance, you can see a rolling slope, where the Straw Hat crew and the Black Cat pirates battled in the original book. It's just that Crow has not given up his identity as a pirate and came to be a housekeeper. The pirates are coming. There are pirates, everyone run away. The big thing is bad, the pirates are here. A boy with a long nose and a turban ran into the village, shouting in a panic, which attracted the glaring looks of many villagers. Damn Usopp, started deceiving again today. A villager rushed out of the house with a broom to give a boy named Usopp a lesson. I don't take good care of my mother who is seriously ill in bed, but she still has the time to come out and fool around. You should be beaten. Don't keep mentioning pirates. Banjina's husband hasn't come back since he became a pirate. I don't know if he died. I think he ran away with the rich woman. Don't say that, who would like that short and poor Usopp? Usopp blushed at the crowd's discussion and argued loudly. I really saw the pirate flag, my dad is back. Then headed home. Celebrate the 7-day-long holiday of National Day and enjoy reading books. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 038 Usopp's Biggest Lie, Do You Need a Coffin? The new book asks for flower evaluation votes. Back home, Usopp said excitedly to Banshina. Mom, the pirates are here, I really saw the pirate flag, this time it should be Dad who is back. In the simple house, Banjina was lying on a wooden bed covered with a quilt, sweating profusely, and her face was extremely pale. Seems weak to ultimate. Usopp, don't lie, your father won't come back. Why? Why hasn't Dad come back to visit us? Usopp clutched at the bedding, his face already wet with tears. Seeing his mother falling ill, there was nothing he could do. At this time, Usopp did not have the slightest admiration for Usopp, but developed a strong disgust. Banjina took Usopp's little hand and spoke with a smile. Your father has his own reasons. Don't blame him. I am very proud to marry your father. I believe you will become a brave person like your father. Usopp couldn't take it anymore. No way. Don't talk like you're about to die. Mom, you've heard of the legendary medicine, right? The legendary medicine that can cure any disease is on the other side of the sea. Usopp, you're so cute and silly. Banjina showed a helpless expression. Listen well, in case mother dies, the people in the village. Stop talking. I don't want to hear you say you're going to die. Usopp was in tears by this time. At this time, Sikong Ye and his group quietly came to the door of Usopp's house. Karina, who was carrying the sword of vowed victory, glanced into the room, and then nodded to Sikong Ye calmly. The moment Karina saw Banjina, Karina had cast a passive heroic spirit contract. In the next moment, Banjina completely lost her vitality. No matter how much Usopp yells, he can't bring back his dead relatives. Mommy, why are you still thinking about that man at this moment? Why have you never hated him? Usopp's hands shaking as he gripped the bedding, a heart-piercing growl came out of his throat. Sikong Ye can understand Usopp's mood. After all, Usopp has never fulfilled his father's responsibilities these years. Instead, Banjina pulled Usopp up with shit and urine. As a son of man, in the comparison between Banjina's nurturing grace and Usopp's indifference, it is clear at a glance who treats him better. Naturally, he didn't like Usopp, whom he had never met before. Especially when his mother was seriously ill and still did not see his father, Usopp hated it even more. In the original book, Usopp adores Usopp and targets the brave sea warrior, in fact, more to fulfill his mother's last wish. Instead of really worshipping Usopp, One Piece manga serialized more than 900 chapters without father and son meeting each other, which is enough to show that this is a great foreshadowing. Maybe the development of the plot will be like Sanji and Judge. Have a father-son game. And it is well known that Usopp is a well-known liar in the world of One Piece, who can guarantee that his worship of Usopp must be true. Perhaps, Usopp's worship of his father is the biggest lie in his life. Who are you and what are you doing at my house? Usopp cried for a long time before he realized that there was a group of children standing in front of his house. Sikong Ye smiled politely, trying to look as approachable as possible. Need a coffin. Hiss. As soon as these words came out, Karina suddenly took a deep breath. As long as there is anything that has anything to do with people, the captain of his own family will not do it at all. A family member just died, and they are in distraught at this time, but you sell the coffin as soon as you go up, it is really frenzied. I want the most expensive set. Even if I sell me, I want my mother to live in the most comfortable and luxurious coffin. Hiss. Karina gasped again, you actually bought it. Sikong Ye winked at Zoro. Go and chop a coffin and bring it over. Why me? Zoro was unconvinced. This is an assessment of your strength control. If you fail to pass, don't even think about eating. Sikong Ye said casually, and then he seemed to think of something and quickly added something. Oh, by the way, let Luffy go with you, in case you can't find your way back. Zoro. I'm not a road idiot. That's right, you're not a road idiot, you're just suffering from disorientation syndrome. Sikong Ye spread his hands as if defeated by you. Zoro. Zoro and Luffy left, leaving only Sikong Ye and Usopp in the room. Sikong Ye walked up to Usopp, gently stroked the latter's head, and said in relief, you ordered a top-level luxury coffin from me, and the price is not expensive, only 100 million Baileys. Karina rolled her eyes, isn't 100 million Baileys expensive? What a black businessman. I don't have that much money. Gradually calming down, Usopp felt cheated. How much do you have? Here, it's 300 Pele in total. Usopp fumbled in his trouser pocket. Putting the 300 Baileys into the system space, Sikong Ye coughed lightly. The money is not enough, then join my pirate group as a handyman to pay back. Are you a pirate? What do you want to do in Sarab village? Usopp was shocked. Immediately after, he thought of his mother's explanation, and immediately became vigilant. As for being afraid, how can I, Uncle Usopp, be afraid of a 10-year-old kid? 039 Fudge Kaya on board, 2 pirate groups attack. Actually, the main purpose of my coming to Zailuobu village was to invite Kaya to board the boat. I happened to see you selling your body to bury your mother, so I plan to recruit you to board the boat as a handyman. Sikong Ye's words made Usopp's eyelids twitch violently. When did I sell myself to bury my mother? Didn't you sell me the coffin? It was as if 10,000 beasts galloped through Usopp's mind, dispelling the grief of the loss of a loved one in a short time. Okay, don't think so much, accompany us to Kaya's house. Sikong Ye urged, grabbed Usopp and ran towards the only manor in Sarab village. Anyway, Banjina is still alive, there is no need for Usopp to stay at home and mourn alone. Karina didn't know about it, Seeing Sikong Ye cruelly breaking up the last time between mother and son, even though she didn't say anything, she regarded Sikong Ye as a big devil in her heart. Outside the manor, Sikong Ye knocked on the door, and soon a young man with white curly hair and horns on his head came out. Hi, what's the matter? The servant Melly asked politely. Sikong Ye pushed Usopp to the front. Usopp staggered a few steps, scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. We are here to play with Kaya. So it's Miss Kaya's friend, please come inside. Meili knew Usopp, and Sikong Ye and the others were children, so he naturally had no doubts, so he led everyone into the living room. Wait a minute, I'll ask Miss Kaya to go downstairs. Sikong Ye sat on the luxurious and soft sofa, looking at the layout of the living room. The simple yet elegant decoration made people feel very comfortable. Kaya is the daughter of a rich family in our village, and she will not agree to go to sea with you. Usopp reminded. Sikong Ye waved his hand. Don't worry, these are small things. After a while, Kaya, with short pale blonde hair parted in the middle and shoulder length, appeared next to the handrail on the second floor. Kaya, who was about 1 meter tall, was not as high as the handrail. She saw Usopp downstairs through the gap, with a pure and soft smile on her face, and walked downstairs quickly with cheerful steps. Usopp, are you coming to play with me again? Usopp faltered. By the way, who are these people? Are they your subordinates? Kaya nodded her chin and asked with a cute face. Ahahaha, this. Usopp didn't know how to answer for a moment. Kaya, on the other hand, made up her mind. It's amazing, you really didn't lie to me, and unexpectedly summoned so many cadres without knowing it. Sikong Ye heard black lines all over his face. Was Kaya a bit offline when he was a child? Then check the information of the two. Potential partner, Usopp. Available positions, Team Greedy Wolf. Assessment of combat strength, F class. Included features, none. Potential partner, Kaya. Available positions, Team Greedy Wolf. Assessment of combat strength, F class. Included features, none. Obviously both Usopp and Kaya are recruitable. That being the case, Sikong Ye is too lazy to talk nonsense. Immediately cut to the chase. Kaya, do you want to go to sea with us? I think so. Kaya thought it was a house-playing game, and immediately raised her hand in agreement. Then I invite you to join our Zwei pirates, would you like to? Yeah, ding. Regular task. Recruiting partners. The 5th ring has been completed. Please choose Devil Fruit. Option 1. Bubble Fruit. Option 2. Slippery Fruit. Option 3. Mara Mara Fruit. This time, only the Mara Mara Fruit interested Sikong Ye. As for the Bubble Fruit and Slippery Fruit, they are relatively average. Sikong Ye simply chooses Mara Mara Fruit, which can be given to Ace later. In that case, let me take you to see our pirate ship. Saying that, Sikong Ye took Kaya's slender little hand and ran out of the manor. Karina, Usopp, what's the matter with this kind of children's sense of sight of playing house? Are the daughters of rich families so easy to deceive? Karina inadvertently saw the servant Melly standing aside with a calm face, and couldn't help but be speechless. Your lady has gone off to become a pirate, why are you not in a hurry? Meili was taken aback when he heard the words, aren't you guys playing house? The corner of Usopp's mouth twitched. He played with Kaya a lot in the past, and it is estimated that Melly took it as a child's play. Just as he was about to explain something, he saw Karina's right hand stretching towards the sword of the vowed victory behind his back. Usopp immediately trembled and dared not say a word. After walking out of the manor, Karina continued to complain. By the way, our captain has a lot of tricks in recruiting partners. Just now when we landed on the island, we fooled 2 idiots. Hey, who are you talking about being stupid? Usopp suddenly became unhappy. At this moment, a series of gunfire sounded. No, there are pirates attacking the village. Usopp rushed to the village without hesitation. Kuina and Karina exchanged glances and followed. The 3 soon came to the entrance of the village, and saw Sikong Ye and Kaya standing in the front. Behind them were a group of villagers holding hoes and sickles. And outside the village, 2 vicious pirate groups were staring at each other. Chapter 040, 3 regiments against each other, Chloe and Buggy the Clown. One of the pirate groups is dominated by dark green men with big backs and glasses. The man was wearing a black suit and a Spada cat claw gloves on his hands. He was obviously Beiji Keluo, who had been a housekeeper in Kaya Manor for 3 years in the original book. As for the other pirate group, it is dominated by a red-nosed clown. The clown has a white skull pattern painted on his forehead, 2 blue scratches on his eyes, bright lipstick on his mouth, and a clown hat. It is the owner of the famous Lucky Color Hockey, Chinliangdaohua, the clown Buggy. I didn't expect to meet 2 pirate groups that appeared in the original book in Zailuobu village. Sikong Ye sighed with emotion. Now both of them look extremely young, but I don't know which period Crow and Buggy are more powerful compared with the original book. Beiji Keluo, the Zwei pirates are my prey, I advise you not to intervene. The clown Buggy held 3 short swords, suspended in the air, and waved a threat. In this regard, Beiji Keluo just pushed the glasses frame with his palm, and said in a calm tone, there is no conflict of interest between us. My target this time is only the purple-haired girl. Although Beiji Keluo is also greedy for the famous knife that Sikong Ye got from Dugu's tomb. But he is a self-aware person, and he will not be contaminated with treasures beyond his own strength. Sikong Ye narrowed his eyes, thinking that the two pirate groups would fight over interest disputes, but he did not expect to reach a consensus so quickly. But at this time, Luffy and Zoro, the two 7-kill members, were not there, and only he and Kuina were worthy of the battle in the Zwei Pirates. The other 3 small ones are oil bottles. It's a little troublesome. Hey, why did the guy in the suit have 2 piles of rust on his clothes? The sharp-eyed Usopp noticed the pattern on Beiji Chloe's suit and couldn't help exclaiming. When Crow heard this, he suddenly turned his head and stared straight at Usopp. Usopp's legs trembled in fright, and he hid behind Sikong Ye. Look, that ugly guy looks like a circus clown. Kaya shouted excitedly. Ugly, right. Buggy the clown was offended on the spot when he heard that terrible adjective. Little girl, you dare to insult the great Captain Buggy, you are dead. After all, Buggy ordered his subordinates to aim the fort pushed all the way at Sikong Ye and his party. With a loud noise, the 3 forts blasted 3 shells in succession. The cannonball was wrapped in smoke and dust, and it came to Sikong Ye in an instant. Seeing that everyone was about to be smashed to pieces, many villagers in Zailuobu village were terrified, and Karina and Kaya subconsciously closed their eyes. Usopp even sat down on the ground, stunned out of his wits. Dark Cave Road. A large amount of black smoke poured out from Sikong Ye's hands, forming a black curtain to block the front. Whenever a shell hits the shady scene, it will all be absorbed. Although it is incomparable with the distant Utopia, it is still a pretty good defensive skill. Kuina, I'll leave the man in the black suit and glasses to you. Sikong Ye confessed, and rushed towards the clown Buggy. As a dark fruit ability user, he is the nemesis of all fruit ability users, and only by facing the clown Buggy can he maximize his benefits. And maybe even get Buggy's chop fruit. HMPH, do you think you can deal with me, Mr. Buggy, by blocking a few shells? The clown Buggy sneered and said disdainfully. Then the upper body separated from the ankles and flew towards Sikong Ye, while the hands separated from the body and stabbed Sikong Ye with a knife. Fall apart and fly close to the ground. Torn apart clown throwing knife. Seeing this, Sikong Ye stared, and the Sharingan illusion was activated, and Buggy the clown fell into a daze. His fighting style has always been straightforward, and he will open up as soon as he comes up, and he will not try slowly. Taking advantage of Buggy's sluggish neutrality, Sikong Ye stepped forward and firmly grabbed Buggy's neck with his hands covered in black smoke. Immediately afterwards, he took out the Seastone bracelet obtained from completing the side missions and put it on Buggy's hand, and the bracelet tightened automatically. Buggy went completely limp. Although the Seastone bracelet can give the user the effect of exercising and eliminating side effects, the user will also become weak just like wearing real Seastone handcuffs. Swish. Suddenly, a knife stabbed straight at Sikong Ye's back, but luckily he reacted quickly and dodged it in time. Turning around, a young man riding a unicycle appeared behind him. Chief of Staff of the Buggy Pirates and Swordsman Kabaji. Are you only going to sneak attack? Sikong Ye raised his eyebrows, and found that the animal trainer Mochi and his partner, the silly lion Li Kei, gradually surrounded him. Magic Oak Gatling. At this moment, Luffy appeared in time, and countless fist shadows covered Kabaji and Mochi, blasting them into the ground directly. Then Luffy pointed the finger at the rest of the pirates, causing many pirates to flee and complain. This kid in the straw hat is so strong, and his arms can be stretched, what a monster. Wait, I've seen his reward order. That guy is Undead Luffy, who seems to have the ability to resurrect infinitely. No way, how can I fight this? Quote. Seeing that Zoro had never appeared around, Sikong Ye couldn't help asking Luffy. Luffy also wondered when he heard the words, hey, isn't Zoro following me? Sikong Ye. Good guy, I'm afraid Zoro has lost track again. Chapter 041. Sikong Ye rushes to help, treats Crow as a tool man. Luffy, these guys are for you, but don't devour them just yet, I'll go support Kuina. Leaving Zoro alone, Sikong Ye explained to Luffy and then turned his eyes to the battlefield of the Black Cat Pirates. After these days of training, Kuina has stepped into the realm of swordsman with half a foot, and has initially mastered the ability of the Wind Elf fruit. With the Night King suit, her strength has reached D level. Dealing with Crow is not a problem, the premise is that it is one-on-one. Crow is known for using all available resources to his advantage, so when fighting Kuina, he did not forget to let Zango and the Cat brothers interfere. This also made Kuina's fight completely stalemate. Little girl, in fact, there is no need to fight between us. The goal of our Black Cat Pirates is the purple-haired girl over there. As long as you hand her over to me, I promise not to get involved in the battle between your Zwei Pirates and the Buggy Pirates. While waving the espada cat paw, Crow stated the pros and cons, and Kuina had to admire his calm mind. Karina is a crew member of the Zwei Pirates. If you want to capture her, you are making us our enemy. Kuina has an arrogant temperament and would not do anything to betray her partner, and she believed that the captain would not agree either. Hey, is it necessary to risk your own life for a thief? Crow directly revealed Karina's identity, causing Karina's pupils to constrict suddenly. What do you want to say? You may not know, that purple-haired girl specializes in stealing pirates' treasures, and our black cat pirates have also been patronized by her. I followed the route and found her hiding on a passenger ship, but when I approached her, she jumped into the sea and escaped. Afterwards, she boarded your boat. Obviously, it was your idea. There is no harm in handing her over to me. After listening to Crow's narration, Karina glanced at Karina out of the corner of her eye. Seeing that the latter and Kaya hid in the crowd, she couldn't be sure whether Crow was telling the truth or not. But no matter what purpose Karina has, it should be left to the captain's decision, and she will not make a decision on her own. At this moment, a cartoon villain appeared above Karina's head. It was Sikong Ye who leapt over with the Yumi boat spirit. Karina, you're not hurt. Sikong Ye saw the black cat pirates fighting 4 against 1 from afar, worried that Karina's inexperience would suffer, so he hurried over. Captain, you're here. Karina's pretty face was full of surprise. Then tell Sikong Ye what Crow told her before. Sikong Ye nodded, looking at Kei Luo with a hint of playfulness in his eyes. Unexpectedly, Crow, whose IQ was second only to Beckman's, fell into the hands of a little girl. Captain Sikong, you already understand the ins and outs of the matter, shouldn't you stop this meaningless fight? Crow stepped back a lot, lightly resting the glass's frame with his palm, and said with a faint smile. That's not necessary. Sikong Ye waved his hand and refused directly. Just kidding, how could the crew in hand let her fly? Moreover, Sikong Ye also wants to recruit a group of heroic spirits for his use, and this group of people in front of him is just right. So there's nothing to talk about. Kei Luo's forehead was bulging with veins, and it was the first time he was underestimated by a 10-year-old kid. Zhang, who was wearing a dark blue suit and a top hat, took out a circular saw hanging from a thin wire and swung it at Karina and Sikong Ye. When I say, 1 or 2 likes, you guys. However, Sikong Ye directly interrupted. I can do this trick of yours, and it doesn't require props or guides. Plop plop puff. The next moment, everyone in the Black Cat Pirates fell into a coma, even Hypnosis Shi Zhangao and the Catman brothers were no exception. Only Crow closed his eyes subconsciously when he heard Sikong Ye's words, and was not affected. Sikong Ye lightly rubbed his swollen head. It was still difficult to hypnosis dozens of people at once. Karina, I leave the rest to you. No problem. The question and answer dialogue between Sikong Ye and Karina completely angered Crow. Hey, you really don't take me seriously at all. Clotuo lifted the glass's frame, and the figure disappeared in a flash. The next moment, Crow appeared behind Karina and stabbed forward with his right hand. Karina held the sword to block, and at the same time urged the wind element in his body to increase his agility, and fought with the fast-moving Crow. Sparks splattered, gold and iron sang. After there is no interference, Karina has a faint tendency to suppress Crow. Sikong Ye moved with Karina in the boat spirit state, so fast that his eyes could barely keep up. This is the state of Sikong Ye fused with Rinne Sharingan, otherwise it is estimated that only afterimages can be seen. It's just that Karina never drew out the sword of the Oath of Victory, but fought with Crow with an ordinary long knife. Are you using Crow as a tool to hone your sword skills? Sikong Ye was puzzled. That, I haven't mastered the Wind King barrier yet, so I can't hide the light. Karina blushed. Can't you directly control the light? I haven't developed to the extent that I can control the light independently. Sikong Ye. Then you should continue to treat Crow as a tool man. Crow, you are enough. Hey, Chapter 042. Buggy the Clown escapes. Zoro breaks out with a pentagonal slash. Just as Karina brushed the elite monster Crow over and over again, a new change occurred on the battlefield of the Buggy Pirates. Buggy, who was trapped by the Seastone bracelet, cut off his wrist with a knife while no one was guarding him, and escaped from the shackles of Seastone. Ahahaha, Seastone just wants to trap me, Mr. Buggy, how naive. As he spoke, Buggy reinserted the severed hand, and the severed arm recovered in an instant, leaving only a pool of blood stains. Seawater and Seastone can indeed neutralize Devil Fruit, but Buggy's fruit ability involves splitting and recombining. As long as he is free from the shackles of the Seastone, Buggy, who has recovered his fruit power, can reattach his severed wrist. Buggy looked around. All his men were seriously injured and unconscious, and there was only one kid wearing a straw hat left on the battlefield. Wait, straw hats. This straw hat reminds me of some nasty guy. Gritting his teeth, Buggy charged forward with a backstab. Luffy, who was hungry after the fight, suddenly saw 3 knives protruding from his chest, with a look of surprise on his face. Reaching out and pulling out the knife, the injury quickly healed. Luffy turned around, only to see the terrified Buggy backing away crazily. You were obviously pierced by me in the heart, why did you recover so quickly? Well, I'm immortal, Luffy explained calmly. Undead. Buggy naturally saw Luffy's reward order, but he thought it was exaggerated. After all, his uncle Buggy has also been rumored to be immortal, but in fact it is just the effect of chop chop fruit. HMPH, I want to see if you are really as immortal as the reward order says. Buggy's upper body slowly floated in the air, holding 3 short swords in each hand, intending to perform ground-sticking flying and clown-throwing knife again. Do you still want to beat? Luffy touched his shriveled belly and sighed. Then his eyes were fixed, and his momentum suddenly changed 180 degrees. Seeing this, Buggy swallowed, and looked at Luffy in surprise. I saw Luffy's legs spread apart in a horse stance, his left hand rested on his knee, and his right fist hit the ground. His skin gradually turned pink, and a strong pink steam was emitting from his body. It looked like a humanoid beast about to wake up. Buggy stopped flying forward, and flew backwards with a secret poke. A faint sense of irresistible fear arose in his heart. At this moment, Luffy's deeply buried head suddenly lifted up, his eyes fixed on Buggy, and he shouted with his steamy mouth. Magic Oak Gear 2. On the way to Zailuobu village, Sikong Ye gave Luffy the method to open the second gear. The principle of the second gear, to put it bluntly, is to accelerate the blood flow through pressurization, thereby strengthening the body and greatly improving various physical qualities. Therefore, the arm or calf is needed as a pump to pump air when starting, but the current Luffy can only pump air through the calf. Bark, bark, bark. However, in the next moment, a large amount of blood spewed out from the pores of Luffy's body, like a gorgeous blood flower blooming with life. Luffy's breath suddenly stagnated, and he returned from the second gear in an instant, and fell to the ground. The bleeding wound healed quickly, but Luffy was still weak. No, I'm so hungry, I can't maintain the second gear. Buggy. That's it. I'm afraid you're not a funny guy invited by monkeys. One knife flow, flat cut. At this moment, a figure brushed past Buggy, and then Buggy felt his body split in two horizontally. Zoro sheathed the 1,000 blades of the magic knife, came to Luffy and roared. Where did you go just now? You made me look for you everywhere. Huh, Luffy looked confused. Forget it, I'll forgive you this time, don't run around again next time. Zoro turned around and looked at Buggy again. Is this the guy who defeated you? It seems very weak. Luffy held back his hunger and raised his head, defending with a face full of disbelief. Hey, don't make a mistake, you guy. I wasn't defeated by that red nose. It's just that I'm suddenly hungry. Zoro narrowed his eyes. This guy can still fly after being cut in half by me. Is it some kind of devil fruit ability? Buggy reassembled the severed parts, and then said with a wanton smile. That's right, Mr. Buggy, is the splitter who ate chop chop fruit, the nemesis of all swordsmen. Huh, Zoro's face darkened. I can't pretend I didn't hear that. Roronoa Zoro, one of the 7 kills of the Zwei pirates, let me experience what you, the self-proclaimed swordsman nemesis, can do. After introducing himself, Zoro pulled out the Zanpakutō Senbonzakura and put it in his mouth, with the magic sword Thousand Blades in his right hand and the ever-changing Teigu in his left hand. 2 swords style, 2 cuts. This move is to use the minimum restraint between the moves and the gap between the moves to display high-speed continuous slashes. On the other hand, Buggy didn't dodge or dodge, and quickly reorganized his body after taking this move, and gestured a thumbs down to Zoro provocatively. Zoro's eyes seemed to glow green, obviously completely irritated. 3 sword style Wolf Destroyer. 3 sword style Tiger Hunting. 3 sword style Demon Slash. 3 blades Tornado. 3 swordsmanship Divine Avoidance Fake. 043 The growth of the partners, the end of the battle and the aftermath. Zoro performed all the sword moves developed under Sikong Ye's teaching, and even Luojia's Divine Avoidance was learned by him. It's a pity that fur is fur after all, and Zoro's attack power is astonishing, but he still can't help the swordsman nemesis Buggy. Zoro stopped attacking and sheathed his knife. Why did you withdraw the knife? Could it be that you realized the gap between us and surrendered voluntarily? Ha 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 ha. Buggy laughed at Zoro's overreach without hesitation. But Zoro grinned. I'm curious how many pieces you can split into. After finishing speaking, Zoro held the handle of the magic knife Chinba with his right hand, and his body bent slightly into a running posture. One knife flow, draw the sword and cut, the rain. Shish. A series of air explosion sounds like bullets shuttled into Buggy's ears, followed by dense scenes like a hail of bullets presented in front of his eyes. Buggy only felt countless sharp knives slashing across his body, as if he had only experienced it for a moment, and it seemed that he had experienced hundreds of times. In the next moment, Buggy turned into pieces scattered all over the ground, the largest being no more than the thickness of a thumb. It's not dead yet. Zoro couldn't help but shook his head when he saw that the debris on the ground was still wriggling slightly. Buggy is out of combat, and Zoro has no desire to continue fighting. Luffy, who lay on the ground and watched the whole process, opened his mouth wide and said in shock, It's amazing. Your move is stronger than last time. I don't think it's too late. Zoro frowned thoughtfully. On the battlefield of the Black Cat Pirates, the battle was drawing to a close. At this time, Crow was covered in wounds and barely breathed a sigh of relief. Hey, thanks to this battle, I learned a powerful move. Although I can't even control this move, it's more than enough to deal with you. Crow wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with his glove, showing a crazy smile, and then his whole body swayed regularly along with his shoulders. FK. Seeing Crow's familiar forward-shaking action, Sikong Ye was stunned. The villains exploded. What kind of human suffering is this? Karina, don't stand still, this guy is holding back his big move, hurry up and kill him. Sikong Ye quickly reminded Karina. However, after all, it was a step too late, and Crow had already completed the forward swing. After a strange smile, the figure disappeared in place in an instant. Let alone Sikong Ye, even Karina didn't notice Crow's position. Swish. An unconscious pirate had his chest cut by Espada's cat's claw, bleeding profusely. Bark. A boulder was cut into 6 parts. Sikong Ye decisively released Yumi Xuanling, and slapped the ground with both hands. Dark Cave Road. Billows of black smoke emerged from Sikong Ye's hand, spread towards the periphery, covering a radius of 50 meters, and then said to Karina. I will limit his speed, you seize the opportunity to give him a fatal blow. Okay. Karina nodded, holding the long knife tightly in both hands, keeping an eye on her surroundings. At this moment, Karina only felt that the noisy wind in the environment was quiet. The next moment, a figure disturbed the surrounding airflow, Karina's pupils shrank, and the wind element wrapped around her body and flew away, aiming at the target and slashing Ultimate's knife. One knife flow Duanfang. Puff. Crow's figure froze, and a hideous knife wound appeared in front of him, blood spilled all over the sky, and his whole body slowly fell backwards. Seeing that Kei Luo was dealt with, Sikong Ye withdrew his secret acupoint, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and gave Karina a high five with a smile. After the battle came to an end, Sikong Ye then arranged for Zoro and Usopp to deal with the remnants of the 2 pirate ships, and collect the treasure and food by the way. Then, 1/30th of the collected treasure was taken out and the villagers were hired to tie up the pirates and transport them to the shore where the Emperor Star was. After explaining everything, Sikong Ye assigned Karina the task of supervision, and returned to the Emperor Star himself. The whole person collapsed on the sofa exhaustedly. Lying on the other sofa was Luffy, who was rudely carried back to the Emperor Star by Zoro. At this time, Luffy was frantically replenishing food. After relaxing, Sikong Ye had the energy to replay today's battle. Luffy, Zoro, and Karina fought well, and they all developed their own new moves, which is what makes Sikong Ye most gratified. But that doesn't mean the trio is without flaws. Due to the incomplete development of the devil's physique, Luffy gets hungry too easily, and his battery life is worse than Sikong Ye. Zoro is a road idiot, and it is easy to lose the chain at critical moments. Karina has not yet mastered the Wind King barrier, cannot use the Sword of Oath of Victory, and her combat power is limited. The most important thing is that there are only 4 combat units including me on board, which is still too few. It seems that it is necessary to give the boarding gift package to Karina and others to supplement the combat effectiveness of the Zwei pirates. Thinking of this, Sikong Ye remembered what Karina told him about Karina. Still have to talk to Karina before giving the boarding bag. Slowly sitting up, Sikong Ye asked Luffy, who had regained some strength, to call Karina over. Soon, Karina came to the cabin with undisguised horror on her face. She knew that she might be exposed when Crow appeared, so she kept a low profile as much as possible before looking for opportunities to escape. It's a pity that Karina watched too closely, making her seamless. Chapter 044 Karina's boarding package, the shadow ship joins. After dismissing Luffy, Sikong Ye let Karina sit on the sofa opposite, and got straight to the point. Karina, I heard about you from Crow. I don't care if you like money or steal money, you only have 2 choices now. Either you swear that you will never betray the Zwei pirates, or I swear that even if you escape to Cape Tiana, I will throw you into the sea to feed the fish. Karina. Meow meow. This multiple choice question is a bit familiar. It seems that the captain also asked this question when she first boarded the ship. It's just that the swearing part is missing. What does this mean? Does the captain not care about my identity as a phantom thief? Needless to say, Sikong Ye really doesn't care. Anyway, he has his own heart and mind, so he doesn't have to worry about the betrayal of the crew. The reason why Sikong Ye asked this was just to give Karina a signal to accept her, so that she didn't have to be wary of herself. Let me, the crew, do the swearing. Karina grinned, raised 4 fingers and vowed never to betray Zwei pirates. Getting along with everyone in the Zwei pirates these days made Karina feel the warmth she hasn't seen for a long time, and she was a little reluctant to leave. Although the captain can be nasty at times, he is also incredibly reliable at other times. And joining the Zwei pirates can still continue her career of theft, and there is no conflict. Seeing that Karina chose to stay in Zwei pirates without hesitation, Sikong Ye smiled slightly, and then re-extracted the record of Karina's boarding gift bag. Ding. Intern Karina is boarding, please choose the boarding package. Option 1. Mask of the Shadow Core. Option 2. Shadow Dragon Slayer Magic. Option 3. Nara's Shadow Mystery. Filled Diamond Shadow Core Mask. Wearing a mask can control the Shadow Core. There are 9 masks in total, belonging to 9 Shadow Core. Filled Diamond Shadow Dragon Slayer Magic. Transform yourself into the body of a shadow dragon, and master the magic of the shadow dragon, possessing the ability to slay dragons. Filled Diamond Nara Shadow Secret Technique. The Shadow Secret Technique of the Nara family can perform various control ninjutsu through the shadow. After reading the introduction to the characteristics of the Karina boarding package, Sikong Ye felt for the first time that he was suffering from a difficulty in choosing. All three options are very good, and with Karina's wisdom, they can definitely play well. But the question is which one to choose. As a member of the Zwei Pirates, I will give you a gift. Tell me, what fighting style do you like? Sikong Ye threw the question to Karina. If you like punching to the flesh, then choose Shadow Dragon Slayer magic. If you like to control the battle situation, you can consider Nara Shadow Secret Art. If you like to line up troops, the Mask of the Shadow Corps has become the first choice. Captain, you are finally willing to give me a boarding gift bag. Karina pouted. She had already learned about the boarding package from other crew members these days, but Sikong Ye kept silent about it, which made her angry for a long time. She's a girl, so she definitely doesn't like to fight and kill. It's best to let me have a certain amount of self-protection. Karina didn't ask too much, and Sikong Ye immediately ruled out the Shadow Dragon slaying magic upon hearing this. The Mask of the Shadow Corps is a summoning item, which cannot directly enhance Karina's strength, and it is also ruled out. In the end, Sikong Ye chose the Shadow Secret technique, and then asked, is there any pirate ship bound? Well, Karina did not answer Sikong Ye directly, but first digested the huge knowledge of Shadow Secret arts. Seeing this, Sikong Ye patiently waited. 20 minutes later, Karina opened her eyes with surprise, and took a deep breath on Sikong Ye's cheek. Captain, you are amazing, this Shadow Secret technique is exactly what I want most. Wiping the drool on his face, Sikong Ye repeated the question just now. I don't understand the style. Karina immediately rolled her eyes at this scene, but she still got down to business. I did have a connection with a pirate ship called the Shadow Ship. Following Karina's narration, Sikong Ye discovered that the Shadow Ship is very similar to the Heroic Ship, both of which have the ability to pass through the world and contract. However, the Shadow Ship is a contracted shadow and made into a Shadow Core, while the Heroic Ship is a contracted soul and made into a Heroic Spirit. Both can obtain basic attributes and combat experience from the original owner, and have the characteristics of self-growth and re-summoning after death. But the contracted shadow cannot obtain the fruit ability of the original owner, but the contracted soul can. It is enough to see that the power of the devil in devil fruit exists in the form of a soul body. However, the shadow soldiers also have the ability to sneak into the shadow and move in the shadow, which is very similar to some abilities of the shadow army. Both have pros and cons. Suddenly, Sikong Ye remembered the shark eater core that looked like a shark, so he quickly asked Karina. What price does the original owner have to pay after the shadow of the contract? He remembered that in Uncle Long's adventures, the swallowed shadow would be unconscious due to the loss of chi. Shadow swallowed or burned to ashes when exposed to sunlight. Sikong Ye was taken aback when he got the answer. Isn't this the effect of Gecko Moria Shadow Fruit? Chapter 045 Environmental Ambassador Sikong Ye, The Cure of the Horse Charm. By the way, what's the difference between your active contract and your passive contract? Sikong Ye needs to clarify the specific effect of the contract before making the next arrangement. An active contract requires the consent of the parties, and has 80% of the original owner's strength and combat experience, while a passive contract can forcibly deprive the shadow, and has 40% of the original owner's strength and combat experience. And no matter what kind of contract it is, it will not inherit the memory and character of the original owner, just like a newborn baby. Karina told Sikong Ye all the information she had obtained, and the latter thought about it, and then brought Karina back. When the only two members of the Breaking Army team were present, Sikong Ye came slowly. Karina, the two of you will sign an active contract with those pirates later, and drag it out to feed Luffy when you're done. Karina rolled their eyes when they heard this. What you said, why does it have a sense of, drag it out to feed the dog? As for those heroic spirits, you, Karina, will be in charge of interrogating them. For those who are extremely cruel, murderous, psychologically distorted, and treacherous, the contract will be terminated directly, and their souls will be scattered. Although these heroic spirits are destined to become cannon fodder, not all of them are qualified to be cannon fodder. He didn't want more unrest on board. As for the shadow soldiers, they don't have the memory and character of the original owner, so don't worry about it. Oh, by the way, Buggy has chop fruit ability, don't rush to feed Luffy, I plan to use his body for an experiment. After he dies, the interrogation will be exempted for the sake of dedicating himself to scientific research. In the end, Sikong Ye still made a merciful decision. Karina's hairs stood on end. You are such an environmental ambassador. The shadows, bodies, and souls of these pirates are all sorted and recycled, and even the demon fruit power is used for experiments. Total waste utilization to the ultimate. It's crazy. Sikong Ye doesn't know the second daughter's brain supplement, otherwise he will definitely cry out for being wronged. He just wanted to perform a fruit removal operation on Buggy. Why are you so insane? Besides, Buggy himself must be eager to get rid of Devil Fruit's curse. This is clearly what you want. You guys can go to work, and call Usopp and Kaya over by the way. Sikong Ye completely regarded the reception cabin as a private office, as if he was a leader. To this, Karina reluctantly agreed, and then added, there is a husky fruit capable person in the Black Cat Pirates. Oh, Sikong Ye raised his eyebrows. It's strange that a dog got mixed into the famous Black Cat pirates. Presumably it was because of this guy that the Black Cat pirates were able to track down Karina. Put him in the experimental category like Buggy. Not long after the second daughter left, Usopp and Kaya came to the cabin. Kaya fumbled around the cabin with her short legs, her big eyes were full of curiosity. Standing at the door, Usopp's legs trembled uncontrollably, with a look of fear on his face. Ding. Intern Kaya is boarding the ship, please choose the boarding package. Option 1. Horse Charm. Option 2. Dungeon Liuhua. Option 3. Dragon Slayer Magic in the Sky. Filled Diamond Horse Talisman. Heal and restore, eliminate all harmful abnormal states in the body, restore smashed and damaged things to complete quality, and represent restoration to the most perfect state. Filled Diamond Dungeon Liuhua. The rejection of Vientiane, possesses the abilities of defense, healing, and attack. Filled Diamond Sky Dragon Slayer Magic. Transform yourself into the body of a sky dragon, and master the magic of the sky dragon, possessing the ability to slay dragons. Looking at Kaya's boarding package, Sikong Ye immediately fell in love with the Horse Charm, which is an extremely important ability for their entire pirate group. With the Horse Charm, as long as you don't die, you can instantly resurrect with full blood. System, if I don't choose the Horse Charm this time, will it appear again next time? Return to the host, one and only one of the 3 gift packs for members of the Greedy Wolf team will issue a spell. If you don't choose it, it will no longer appear. Sikong Ye twitched his mouth when he heard that. Doesn't this mean that the Horse Charm has become a must? So what's the use of showing the other 2 gift packages? Put it out to make him hungry. By the way, the system, shouldn't the Horse Charm need to be continuously developed like other features? Sikong Ye asked. Returning to the host, all the features need to be developed by the person concerned, and using spells will also consume physical and mental energy. The words of the system completely dispelled Sikong Ye's illusion of unlimited physical strength. Sighing helplessly, Sikong Ye chose the Horse Charm, and a horse head tattoo emerged on Kaya's left hand. Huh, what is this? Kaya rubbed it curiously, but found that she couldn't get it off. Sikong Ye also didn't expect that the Horse Charm would appear on Kaya's body in the form of a tattoo. But that's fine, if it's a stone, what if it's lost? This is the Horse Charm, which can cure all diseases in the world. Sikong Ye introduced Kaya, but this sentence fell into Usopp's ears like a bolt from the blue. Chapter 046 Lies Come True and Curse, Usopp Mother and Son Reunite. What did you say? Usopp couldn't believe his ears, staring blankly at the horse head tattoo on Kaya's hand, dazed for a moment. Seeing that Usopp didn't believe it, Sikong Ye took out a kitchen knife from the kitchen and chopped it on Usopp's arm. Ah, Usopp, who came back to his senses, found that his right hand was broken, blood was rushing, and he screamed. Kaya was also taken aback, but Sikong Ye looked indifferent. Put your hand on Usopp's head to heal the broken arm. Kaya did so in a daze, and saw a ray of green light transmit from the palm to Usopp, and then to the right arm. Usopp's right arm slowly grew bones, flesh and skin, and he recovered in a short while, and even all kinds of minor injuries and ailments in his body were completely healed. Touching his right hand, Usopp felt the same as before, and the right hand that had been severed just now had turned into a spot of light and disappeared. Ha! Ha ha! So there really is a legendary medicine in this world, a legendary medicine that can cure any kind of disease. Usopp had a crazy smile on his face, but his eyes were filled with tears like a flood bursting a bank. If Kaya can fix even a broken arm, it shouldn't be a problem to want to heal his mother, right? Plop. Usopp suddenly fell to his knees on the floor, put his hands on the ground, and cried out heart-piercingly. Mom, I really didn't lie to you, I found the legendary medicine. But you're not here, oh. Sorrowful wailing resounded through the village of Sarab. Whether it was the villagers who were carrying the pirate captives outside, or the crew such as Luffy Zoro, they all heard the mournful cry. Everyone is silent. Kaya covered her little mouth. She didn't know that Usopp's mother had passed away until now, and she couldn't stop crying. Why, mother, why don't you hold on for a little longer? It only takes 3 hours, you can be cured in just 3 hours, who will cook for me, who will wash my clothes, who will tell me bedtime stories, who will play with me after you leave? I'm still a child, why did you leave me? My hateful father, hateful, hateful, hateful. Usopp recounted the trifles of getting along with Banjina, and scolded his father for each case of not fulfilling his duties, feeling sad in his heart. At this moment, Kuina suddenly broke into the cabin, glanced at Usopp who was grabbing the ground with his head, and then looked at Sikong Ye who was frowning. Immediately speechless. Can you stop playing and tell him that Usopp's mother is still alive? It's noisy to hear him cry like this. It's affecting my productivity. Hearing that her mother was still alive, Usopp was taken aback for a moment, and the crying stopped abruptly, leaving Kaya alone as a little girl who couldn't stop her tears and was in a mess. The 2 little guys had only one thought in their minds at the moment. FK. What the hell was I crying for? You're telling the truth. Usopp looked up at Kuina expectantly. Ahem, this matter is indeed true. Sikong Ye gave a dry cough, and revealed some information about the heroic ship to Usopp and Kaya. Hearing that Banjina was really not dead, Usopp became excited immediately, and then looked at Sikong Ye with resentment. Why didn't you tell me before? Isn't it moving to see you crying so much? I'm embarrassed to interrupt. Sikong Ye smiled awkwardly. He originally planned to take Usopp to meet Banjina after helping Kaya choose the boarding package, and then take the opportunity to recruit Usopp on board. Unexpectedly, Usopp cried first. Can this be his fault? Kuina, you open a fixed transom door in the cabin, let Usopp meet his mother first. According to Kuina, he gestured an oval towards the bulkhead on the side of the passenger cabin. The oval is 2 meters high, making it easy to enter and exit. The ellipse gradually became transparent, and a ghost ship appeared in front of everyone. On the deck of the ghost ship, a woman with a long nose was yelling around in a panic, but there was no response. When the crossing gate appeared, the woman also saw the scene from the side of the Dixon cabin, especially when she saw Usopp, tears welled up in her eyes. The whole person jumped up and hugged Usopp tightly. Seeing this scene, Sikong Ye, Kuina and Kaya all left the cabin with interest. This time should be reserved for mother and child reunion. It's not easy for Usopp to experience parting and reunion in one day. When he came to the deck, Sikong Ye had a look of emotion. Kuina rolled her eyes and didn't answer. It's not because someone delayed telling Usopp the truth. Heroic spirits can stay on the Emperor Star, or they can choose to leave. Do you have any arrangements for Usopp's mother? Sikong Ye leaned against the railing, looking up at the setting sun in the distance. Usopp will definitely be on the ship. Usopp's mother is not fit to stay in Sarab village, so let her live on the heroic spirit ship. Anyway, the Emperor Star and the auxiliary ship communicate with each other, and the two can meet at any time. If you want to come, Usopp mother and son will not refuse. Celebrate the 7-day-long holiday of National Day and enjoy reading books. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 047 Fruit Removal Surgery, Conjecture of the Power of the Devil. The new book asks for flower evaluation votes. The two chatted for a while, and then went about their own affairs. Kaya left with Kuina, saying that she wanted to observe the work of the pirates. Sikong Ye didn't stop him. Now that Kaya is on the ship, she must be familiar with the pirates' behavior. He found the villagers to buy a bunch of fruits, and then dragged Buggy, who was put together and bound by the seastone bracelet, and the husky fruit-capable person on the Black Cat pirates to the captain's room. The name of the husky fruit-capable person is Leto, and he and Buggy have already signed an active heroic spirit contract and a shadow contract. The heroic spirit contract can only take effect after the contractor's death. And the shadow contract has come into effect. Currently Buggy and Leto have no shadows, and once they are exposed to sunlight, they will turn into fly ash. Therefore, Sikong Ye deliberately wrapped the two in sacks before dragging them into the captain's cabin. What are you doing? Let me go. Lousy is Mr. Buggy. Even as a prisoner, Buggy still has his own arrogance. This made Sikong Ye a little curious about how Kuina and Karina made him sign the contract, so he asked the question in his heart. However, Tsunere Buggy kept silent, so Sikong Ye turned his attention to Leto. We were thrown into the sea dozens of times by those two girls, and we signed those two contracts of prostitution. After speaking, Leto was so wrong that he wanted to cry. Contract of sale. Sikong Ye shook his head and smiled at this. Unexpectedly, these two little girls are quite witty. Not only knows how to use punishment, but also knows to conceal the true nature of the contract. Since you've signed the contract of selling your life, then cooperate with me honestly to conduct an experiment. Seeing that Buggy still had a slumped face, as if someone owed him millions, Sikong Ye was not annoyed. Buggy, you should always be worried about eating devil fruit by mistake. I can help you take out the fruit. Do you want to try? Hearing that Sikong Ye has a way to take out the fruit, Buggy suddenly became interested. He really hated the curse that devil fruit couldn't swim in the sea. What's your solution? Buggy was curious. Puff. A knife stabbed into Buggy's heart, and the corners of Sikong Ye's mouth rose slightly. As long as the person is dead, the devil fruit can be taken out. So, Buggy the clown, please die magnificently. Buggy's eyes widened and his mouth opened wide in disbelief. I signed the deed of selling myself, and I will be yours for the rest of my life. Why do you want to kill me? Hearing such nasty and easily misunderstood words, Sikong Ye suddenly felt a chill, and immediately moved away. After Buggy died completely, Sikong Ye covered his hands with black smoke and probed into Buggy's body for a while. This is the devouring power of dark fruit. It can not only nullify the power of the devil, but also capture the power of the devil. In the original book, after the death of Summit War Whitebeard, Blackbeard grabs shock fruit from the corpse through the power of devouring. As for the black cloth that Blackbeard used to cover the corpse, Sikong Ye didn't have it and didn't need it. In previous lives, many people speculated that the function of the black cloth was to prevent the power of demons from escaping, or to block the detection of the outside world. In Sikong Ye's view, the first conjecture is not reasonable. With the black cloth covered, wouldn't the power of the devil go underground? There is no seastone underground. And between the time Whitebeard died and Blackbeard was covered with a black cloth, there were plenty of chances for the demonic force to escape. Therefore, after comprehensive consideration, the power of demons will stay for a period of time after a person dies. This also means that the function of the black cloth is definitely not to prevent the power of the devil from escaping, but to block the possibility of detection from the outside world. After all, the color of knowledge and knowledge can only sense breath, but not see through. Black cloth can indeed play a masking effect. Leto was completely frightened, he had never seen such a cruel captain. First, they were tortured to force them to sign a contract, and then they were killed mercilessly. After killing them, they even touched the corpse. It's crazy. What are you doing so suddenly? I'm just performing fruit removal surgery on him. Seeing Leto's expression of looking at the devil, Sikong Ye rolled his eyes speechlessly. If you want to perform fruit removal surgery, you need to operate on the soul. After all, the power of the devil is bound to the soul. The case of Brook is enough to prove this point. After Brook's death, because the soul returned too late, the body turned into bones, and the fruit of Wangquan obviously followed the soul at that time. Sikong Ye took advantage of the time when Buggy's soul resided to seize the demon power in his body. Once the time limit expires, the power of the demon will respawn on the hero ship along with Buggy. At that time, whether the power of the demon can be captured from the heroic spirit will be another experiment. Caught it. At this moment, Sikong Ye finally found the demon power on Buggy, pulled it out and stuffed it directly into the fruit basket. After a while, a spiral pattern suddenly appeared on the surface of an orange-yellow pineapple, completely turning into a devil fruit. This should be the chop fruit that Buggy ate. Seeing the success of the experiment, Sikong Ye smiled. Chapter 048 Handyman Usopp is online, and the Blast of the Dragon spell. The new book asks for flower evaluation votes. Then Sikong Ye followed the same method to extract the husky fruit. The fruit is collected into the system space by Sikong Ye, and can be given to suitable partners if given the opportunity. Although he has dark fruit, he doesn't have Blackbeard's physique and can eat multiple devil fruits without dying. In the original book, Blackbeard has dark fruit and shock fruit, but he must be able to devour another one. Otherwise, why would the Blackbeard pirates draw 3 skulls on their pirate flag? Both the strongest Logia and the strongest Paramesha were obtained by Blackbeard, and in the end it must be to seek the strongest zone devil fruit. Before he crossed over, the plot just developed to the Wano-kuni chapter. Maybe Blackbeard will take advantage of the time when Luffy and Kaido are both defeated, and get the green dragon fruit of the Phantom Beast. Of course, the above is all speculation, and now Blackbeard without dark fruit can't even get shock fruit. Thinking that Blackbeard had been waiting for more than 10 years to be the first fruit, Sikong Ye laughed so hard that his liver hurts. At this time, Usopp and Benchina walked out of the cabin. Yo, are you two finished chatting? Sikong Ye was in a good mood and greeted with a smile. Benchina took Usopp and quickly thanked Sikong Ye, which made the latter feel embarrassed. I heard that you are recruiting Usopp. I agreed for him. Just use this kid in the future. He is too lacking in exercise. Benchina smiled softly. Sikong Ye was slightly surprised by this. Benchina is indeed a very self-aware person, and she has done Usopp's ideological work well in advance. That being the case, he will definitely satisfy Benchina's request and use Usopp to his heart's content. Usopp, would you like to join our Zwei pirates? I do. With the addition of Usopp, the system beep also appeared. Ding. Regular task. Recruiting partners. The 6th ring has been completed. Please choose devil fruit. Option 1. Thunder fruit. Option 2. Shrink the fruit. Option 3. Crocodile fruit. Ding. Intern Usopp is boarding. Please choose the boarding package. Option 1. Dragon charm. Option 2. Zanpakutō Shinso. Option 3. Teigu romantic fort. Filled diamond dragon talisman. It can shoot out huge destructive deflagration flames, representing blasting and bombing. Filled diamond Zanpakutō Shinso. The back of Shikai can expand and contract freely, increasing attack speed and strength, and it contains deadly toxins that can dissolve cells. Filled diamond Teigu romantic fortress. The gun-shaped Teigu that converts mental power into shock waves and shoots out, and its power will increase according to the degree of crisis encountered by the user. 2 options appeared together, and Sikong Ye chose Thunder Fruit first. As for Paramesha Shrinking Fruit, the effect is not particularly great. It is also not uncommon for Sikong Ye, the fruit of the ancient species of crocodile, to be bred by phantom beasts. The second option looks very greedy, but in fact, you can only choose the dragon spell. After completing the options, Usopp appeared with a dragon tattoo on the back of his left hand. This tattoo, does it mean that I also have the ability to heal in the future? Usopp was full of surprise, and wanted to find a knife to cut off his arm to try the healing effect. Seeing this, Sikong Ye immediately gave Usopp a chestnut. Your ability is blasting. Sikong Ye briefly introduced the ability of the dragon charm, and Usopp was excited when he heard it. He immediately ran to the railing and pointed his index finger at the sea in the distance to shoot. Finger pistol flame bomb. As the name of the self-made move was called out, a burst of dazzling light suddenly burst out from Usopp's index finger, followed by a hot beam of light shooting into the distance. Boom. With the sound of an explosion, a layer of air waves rushed over in an instant, almost overturning the Emperor Star. The blasted seawater fell like raindrops, drenching everyone into a drenched chicken. Drag the deck clean, hand over the 2 corpses in the captain's cabin to Luffy, and deal with the bloodline and stains there by the way. After leaving a word, Sikong Ye hurried to take a shower. In the evening, the moonlight first appeared. The banquet carnival started on the Emperor Star. Luffy and Zoro ate meat, while Karina and the 3 daughters chewed slowly, tasting various dishes made by the gourmet machine. The heroic spirit ship is full of pirates from the Buggy Pirates and the Black Cat Pirates, so Banshina is temporarily arranged to live on the Emperor Star. As a housewife, Banshina naturally takes care of basic housework such as washing and cutting vegetables, operating the food-making machine, serving dishes and washing dishes. Seeing this scene, Sikong Ye felt that Sanji's position as chef might be lost. While eating delicious food, Usopp helped Banshina. Obviously very conscious of handyman. Everyone was very happy tonight. After the banquet, Sikong Ye gave up 2 two-bedroom cabins to the 3 little girls and Banshina. Luffy, Zoro and Usopp are crowded in the reception cabin. And Sikong Ye came to the captain's cabin to play on the floor. Without him, the captain's room is clean. He is not used to sleeping on a big bunk, and is easily woken up by snoring at night. It seems that it is imperative to upgrade the Emperor Star, otherwise, if we recruit new partners, I'm afraid they can only sleep on the deck. Sikong Ye looked at the vast starry sky outside the window with his head on his pillow, and planned to go to the kingdom of Goya to recruit Ace and Sabo after meeting Kaya's parents tomorrow and making a contract with them. Celebrate the 7-day-long holiday of National Day and enjoy reading books. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity time. October 1st to October 7th. 049 Hold a funeral for Banshina, meet Shanks again. The new book asks for flower evaluation votes. The next morning, the sun was shining brightly. Everyone in Zwei Pirates woke up early. Sikong Ye summoned everyone on board to gather on the deck, including Banshina. The next goal of our Zwei Pirates is the Goa Kingdom. But before we set off, there is one more thing that needs to be done. Everyone was puzzled and didn't understand what the captain was going to do in Zailuobu village. Only to hear Sikong Ye go on to say, we need to hold a funeral for Banshina Aunt. Huh, Usopp is not happy, my mother is not dead yet, what kind of funeral? I remembered, the coffin cut yesterday is still in the woods. Zoro exclaimed, and suddenly everyone remembered that Banshina's body was still lying at home. A heroic spirit is a special kind of spirit body, which is not only the state of the soul, but also has an entity, but after all, it is not the same body as before life. Karina also nodded at this time. Banshina Aunt's body should indeed be buried alive, and please invite a band to accompany it. You can burn some Ming coins to send over. Kuina continued. There are also joss sticks and offerings. Kaya raised her hand to add. What is the tribute? Can it be eaten? Luffy touched his smooth stomach. Shut up, Luffy, that's for the dead, Zoro growled. But isn't Banshina Aunt dead? Everyone was taken aback and stopped discussing. Banshina, is it really appropriate for you to discuss my funeral in front of me? Ahem, keep everything simple at the funeral, please don't reveal the fact that Banshina Aunt is alive for now, let's call it a day. Sikong Ye felt tired. He is not a pirate group, he is like a kindergarten. One Piece World doesn't even have 9 years of compulsory education, bad review. Arrange for everyone except Kaya and Banshina to decorate the funeral. Sikong Ye asked Banshina to stay in the cabin as much as possible, even if she came out, she had to cover her face, and then asked Kaya solemnly. Kaya, we are leaving, do you decide to follow us or stay? I want to go out to sea with you, but before I go out to sea, I want to see my parents again. Kaya's pretty face was full of determination. Obviously, after a night of subtle influence, Kaya finally mustered up the courage and decided to go to sea. Seeing this, Sikong Ye nodded in satisfaction. The reason why he only asked Kaya to stay today was to give enough time for the ship's wishes to take effect. Where are your parents now? Sikong Ye was a little puzzled that Kaya's parents hadn't come to see Kaya. My parents are going overseas to do business, and they should be back by noon today. Knowing that Kaya's parents came back today, Sikong Ye was relieved a lot, and then took Kaya to join in the work of arranging the funeral. This is the first time Sikong Ye has organized a funeral for a living person. Very fresh. At noon, when everyone was finishing the arrangements for the funeral, Kaya's parents' merchant ship just happened to return to Sarab village. However, what Sikong Ye didn't expect was that a pirate ship in the distance followed closely behind. This pirate ship, known to Sikong Ye, is the Red Force who parted ways more than 20 days ago. On Red Force, the red-haired Shanks naturally saw Sikong Ye's Emperor Star, and immediately waved their arms excitedly to say hello. Some pirates even danced and cheered loudly, and some even showed expressions of weeping with joy, which made Sikong Ye bewildered. Woohoo! Finally found Luffy, we can get rid of that old lunatic. From now on, there will be no more days when someone disturbs the situation in the middle of the banquet, and someone throws a few cannonballs over in the middle of sleeping. I didn't expect that I would still be so aggrieved after becoming a pirate, being hunted down by Garp, and living a life worse than a dog. 3 seconds of silence for One Piece. I don't know which bastard spread the rumor that we tricked Luffy into being a pirate. It was obviously that brat Sikong Ye who invited Luffy to board the ship. Our captain even stopped him several times. That's right, if you say we tricked Luffy into eating the devil fruit, then it's obviously Luffy who accidentally ate the devil fruit, so it's none of our business. The howls and complaints on red hair pirates one after another, it can be seen how much resentment they have towards Sikong Ye and Luffy. The red force gradually approached the port, and the pirates on board also noticed that the size of the Emperor's star had roughly doubled, and they all had a hellish expression. Yo, Sikong Ye, your boat seems to be getting bigger. Red force is not far from the port. Shanks jumped directly to the shore and greeted Sikong Ye. Find a shipbuilder to expand it. Sikong Ye laughed. Do you think you are building a house with extensions? The corner of Shanks' mouth twitched, and sure enough, the little guy didn't have a word of truth in his mouth. But thinking of Garp following behind him, Shanks smiled unkindly. Boy, I'm afraid you're going to stumble today. Sikong Ye got goosebumps from Shanks' strange gaze. Are you transgender? Shanks' face darkened, the guy's mouth was still so hateful. At this time, the red force docked, and Usopp jumped out of the boat, gloating. Tell you something secretly, Mr. Garp is chasing after us. Chapter 050 Garp Strikes, a strategic policy to go against the wind. The new book asks for flower evaluation votes. What? Sikong Ye was shocked. Garp actually came too. He quickly looked towards the sea, and sure enough, he found a small sesame dot on the horizon in the distance. Although the distance is too far to determine the real identity of the other party, it is not possible for Shanks to deceive him with this kind of thing. Little ones, get ready to go. Sikong Ye greeted everyone, he would not hold any funeral or not. Anyway, Banjina is not dead. And the corpse has already been put into the coffin and buried in the soil, but there are still some incense candles, tribute coins and so on. Sikong Ye glanced at Usopp who was beaming with joy at the moment, and his eyes lit up immediately. Well, Usopp, let me tell you something secretly. Sikong Ye quietly leaned into Usopp's ear. This piqued the curiosity of Usopp and Shanks. What's the matter? If you want to ask us to help you hide your whereabouts, then forget it. Mr. Garp has put down his cruel words. If you can't find Luffy, you will smash our red hair pirates. Usopp waved his hands quickly. No, what I want to say is that your wife Benchina is dead. Sikong Ye kept his tone as calm as possible, so as not to hit this brave sea warrior. Are you entertaining me? Usopp's face darkened completely. However, Sikong Ye spread his hands and pointed in the direction of Zailuobu village. Do you think it's necessary for me to lie to you? Usopp hurriedly used his knowledge to investigate, and he really heard the bad news about Banjina, and suddenly felt a thunderbolt from the blue sky hit his mind. Originally we were about to hold a funeral, but now something happened suddenly, and the follow-up matters of the funeral are left to you, the husband. Sikong Ye pretended to be helpless. He did not tell Usopp that Banjina was still alive, nor did he intend to reunite their family now. The main reason is that time does not allow, otherwise he really wants to watch a father-son game. By the way, Shanks, for the sake of helping the crew's family arrange the funeral, I leave it to you to delay Garp. Sikong Ye chatted briefly and then returned to the Emperor's star. Kaya has already met her parents, and cured her parents' unmentionable diseases, and she still boarded the boat despite her parents' reluctance. Kuina took the opportunity to cast a passive contract on Kaya's parents. Even after learning that the red hair pirates had some relationship with Luffy, she also contracted some cadre-level pirates. Among them are Shanks and the 3 gunmen Beckman, Lucky Roo and Usopp. Everything is ready. Sikong Ye is ready to set sail with 6 partners. Luffy, you've grown a lot. Looking at the Emperor's star going away, Shanks greeted Luffy on board. Luffy held the brim of his hat with his right hand, jumped onto the side of the boat and waved with a smile. Shanks, I've become stronger and will surpass you soon. Conversations between men have always been extremely crisp. After the Emperor's star was far away from Zailuobu village, Sikong Ye jumped onto the roof of the cabin and shouted to everyone. Some of you may not know that Luffy's grandfather is actually the marine hero Vice Admiral Garp. He learned that Luffy has returned to East Blue after going out to sea, and is now hunting down Hour's Way pirates. Hearing this explosive news, everyone's performance varied. Usopp and Luffy panicked, and the rest were somewhat worried. But don't worry, the captain has already formulated 3 sets of perfect plans, but this requires your cooperation. Captain, just tell us what you need us to do, we will be willing. Karina was the first to express her opinion. The rest of the crew also expressed their views one after another. Banjina stood at the door of the cabin and watched Usopp without speaking for a long time. She was out of breath for a while, and after rushing up to beat him, Usopp also expressed his support for the captain. Seeing this, Sikong Ye was very pleased, and then pointed to the 6 treadmills. These treadmills are connected to the propellers on both sides of the Emperor's star, and as long as you run hard, you can increase the speed. Now, each of you stand on a treadmill and start running hard. It's that simple. Zoro obviously didn't think that he could escape Garp's pursuit by doing so. Karina also saw the clues, but her thinking was more divergent, and she quickly thought of Sikong Ye's purpose in doing so. Captain, are you going to use manpower to propel the Emperor Star against the wind? That's right. Seeing that Karina quickly reacted, Sikong Ye nodded. The vast majority of warships sail by wind power. As long as we go against the wind, we can distance ourselves from warships. After explaining a sentence, Sikong Ye put all the sails away, and let the tool people start running on the treadmill. In addition, let me add one more point. If we are chased by Garp, don't try to resist. We should eat and drink. As long as I don't die, I will definitely take you out of the sea of suffering. The crew members were confused about this, but they all kept it firmly in their hearts. Seeing that everyone was getting busy, Sikong Ye came to the captain's cabin, turned around and sailed forward facing the wind direction. This is the best way he can think of. If Garp doesn't talk about martial arts and directly uses moonwalk to drive, then he can only use Plan 3.